This week on the PRESSURECAST, Vivendi ups its investment in Ubisoft, Marvel hints at future console releases, and Sony offers millions of dollars to PlayStation 3 owners. Plus, we discuss the 10 best games of 2016 so far. It's Monday, June 27th, 2016. Everything happening in the world of video games is here, now, on the PRESSURECAST. Hey, Pressure Pals. Welcome to the 136th episode of the PRESSURECAST, VideoGamesAreDumb.com's weekly news panic that posts every single Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn Radio, and America's longest-running independent newspaper at ShepherdExpress.com. My name is Colin Tanner, and I am caffeinated, ready to rumble you about some gosh darn video games. And across from me, Steve Cuff.
Hey, what's up, Colin?
Oh, you know.
Did you miss me last week?
Yeah. No,
How much did you miss me? Scale of 1 to Q.
I didn't get to talk to you about PlayStation VR.
Oh my God.
I know. It was very depressing, but we can talk about that.
Did you see all the 3D Bandicoots?
I did. Yeah, there was nothing but Crash Bandicoot just thrusting right into my VR headset.
Hell yeah.
But we are going to be talking about what are the 10 best games of 2016 so far this year. That's not really a transition. Just wanted to move away from that topic. But in case...
Sexual bandicoots?
Yeah. In case you've never listened to the show before, each week the PRESSURECAST slices up the latest video game news, past, present, and future, and delivers it right into your ears through several sensational segments in 2 hours or less. Remember, if you want to contact the show with a question or comment, or even maybe a concern you want to hear read on air, you can email us, pressurecast@gmail.com. You can tweet at PressureCastPod, and you can even call 954-947-7377 or text your question to be heard on air. There are no questions this week, so the thank you for the email segment won't be here. Thanks, everybody. Just really ruined my whole day.
It's okay. I'm doing the show completely naked this week, so I think you're going to get a lot of positive feedback.
Okay, good. What the hell was that? I hear the train. Oh, boy. Beep, beep. That's right. It's time for the Hype Train. Feel the PR vibrations as we barrel towards Video Game Satisfaction Station on the Hype Train. This is the part of the show where we talk about all those upcoming video games to get you hyped up to spend all your money and become a video game guru. So, we have one story regarding the PlayStation Neo, the upcoming PlayStation 4 that Steve can't wait for.
Yeah.
That's enthusiasm, in case you can't tell.
You should see my cynicism.
This time, though, we got to hear from Shuhei Yoshida, who I don't think we've heard talk about the Neo so far. We've heard from Andrew House and other people in Sony, but good old Yoshida, he's sort of the, I guess, the face of Sony. A lot of people just, I don't know, they love him. He's enthusiastic, and he's very polite. Well, here's what he said about, is this going to be taking over the PlayStation 4? Is this going to be replacing the PlayStation 4, the Neo? Is that what's going to happen? And he says, no. PlayStation 4 is PlayStation 4. You know the new high-end PlayStation 4 is still PlayStation 4. So you know the life cycle is not going to be shorter. In other words, nope, they're going to be sitting side by side for the entire generation.
No.
I
don't see that happen. Has that ever happened before?
When someone replaces it with a better... Yeah, it's like you don't see them still selling the PlayStation 2, the regular one, when they had the PlayStation 2 Slim.
Yeah, well, and if you look at any... Like, even the PS3, like... Once the fat PS3 went away, you couldn't get it anymore. They just didn't manufacture. It doesn't make any sense to continue to manufacture two completely separate things. At some point, it's going to be more financially viable to just manufacture the newer one. I think that means they're going to continue to support both of them, but they're not going to sit side by side on store shelves from now until 2019 or something.
At the rate they're selling, definitely not. But I was also thinking, the way he said, it's not going to be shortening the life cycle. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is the life cycle? Because when they announced the PlayStation 3, they announced the 10-year lifespan. And that was in 2006. It's now 2016. And there are still games coming out on the PlayStation 3. When we get to the very end of the Hype Train, we'll be reading off games. There are games coming out for the PlayStation 3 still. There are games that came out for the PlayStation 3 last week and the week before that. They have successfully achieved a 10-year life cycle, and they are surpassing it. But honestly, with the PlayStation 4, they're like, oh, it'll be the exact same amount of time. But we have no idea how long that's going to be. And if they're already reiterating and creating a more powerful PlayStation 4 after only 3 years, I mean, really, how long do you think this thing is going to last? 6 years? 5 years? I mean, really?
I think we're kind of... It's weird because in the 90s and in the 1980s, short console lifespans, with obviously some exceptions. Like,
5 years, 4 years.
Yeah. That was kind of the norm. And then I think, well, obviously Nintendo kind of set the standard for having longer console lifespans. And then by the time we get into the like PlayStation 2 era, then you're really starting to see console lifespans expand. And I think we're starting to see like this elasticity where we've stretched the console lifespan for as far as it can go, and we're starting to move backwards. Because a lot of these manufacturers, I think Microsoft is going to be at the forefront of this. They want that parallelism with the PC platform, and if you're going to do that, then you kind of have to incrementally upgrade your console like a PC.
Well, and I think it's also worth pointing out that even when they do come out with the next console, like we're seeing with the PlayStation 3, it doesn't automatically replace the older model. By the time the PlayStation 3 came out, God of War just came out. God of War 2, I should say, not God of War 1. I mean, that's a very popular game on that system. Persona 4 wasn't out yet. That wouldn't be out until 2008. So systems do survive long after they're quote-unquote replaced by the superior model. But I guess what I'm kind of worried about is that, they haven't really specified exactly how long this is going to be. And I'm concerned that if they try to shake this up again soon, that might actually hurt the console market as a whole. I feel like for them, it was very difficult to project exactly how long this is all going to last. But I do wonder if we're just sort of in that middle ground where we do need another replacement. Like, let's say this generation lasts for like 6 years, okay? That doesn't mean that the next generation will last for 4 years or even less. The next generation after this could last 10 years. I know people are skeptical, like, what are you talking about? Consoles are going away. But I don't know. After this generation, I'm not sure about that. But, because if you look at the way that you were mentioning about how consoles led up to the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Wii generation that was progressively longer, we didn't really need to upgrade that much. You look at the difference between late PlayStation 3 and late 360 and early Xbox One and early PlayStation 4, not a huge difference. And even now, even now it's like, well, you could pull this off on an older console, but it wouldn't be, quite as pretty or as complex, and there wouldn't be as many particle effects or maybe enemies on screen, but you could still pull it off. And I wonder if we're kind of in that middle point now where we do need that great next leap forward, as Mao said, and then we can just kind of coast for another 10 years. Maybe this generation is sort of a botch. I don't know.
Well, and sure, and you could say that maybe VR is the answer. That's the next big step. But at this point, if you look at early consoles and you make this jump from 2D to 3D graphics primarily, I mean, that's a huge aesthetic change, and it kind of changes the way that video games function.
Yeah.
And we really haven't had that moment since like the mid 90s.
Right.
So we're in a spot where I don't know what the next thing is, because you can only make things so shiny. Like the difference between 2 polygons and 200 polygons is just insane. The difference between 2 million and 200 million is not as pronounced. Like the more that you improve upon the graphics at this point where we're almost at a saturation point where, with the exception of drowning something in bloom lighting and having 1 million character models on screen, there's only so much that you can do to really aesthetically improve something.
It's true, and also the difference between console generations is the distribution model and also the packaging. Going back to the Atari with cartridges and leading up to the PlayStation 1 era of CDs and then eventually DVDs and now Blu-rays and now digital distribution is the main thing. I feel like that's, those are the only areas I could think of is, maybe having better graphics and digital distribution and possibly VR. Those are the only differences I can really think of. But it makes you really concerned about, this life cycle is going to be exactly as long as it was always going to be. It's like, so you have a plan. Because you fulfilled your last plan, 10-year cycle. You did it. It's just kind of like, what's really going on here? I wish they would just predict it. But I feel like they know it's shorter, and they don't want to announce that because it might disappoint people.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a big part of it. And also, I feel like they almost feel like they got lucky with the fact that the PS3 was a 10-year life cycle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's a tough thing to promise back to back.
Which is largely due to the success of the Xbox 360, really. Because it was doing so well and continued to sell so well that PlayStation 3 didn't really need to update, Anyway, So, we have some news about the new God of War game that's currently titled God of War. Cory Barlog, who is the director of the upcoming title and also used to direct God of War games of the past, had this to say about multiplayer, and most importantly, God of War Ascension's multiplayer. I don't know if you remember God of War Ascension. It happened. Here's what he said. Like most multiplayer modes tacked onto a largely single-player adventure, it's not something you're likely to play more than once, and only then out of morbid curiosity. In other words, he's saying there's absolutely no multiplayer component to God of War. I just kind of wanted to bring this up because it seems like we're entering an interesting era where last generation, I had to keep making these comparisons to last generation and this generation, but last generation, almost every franchise had to take that extra step of including multiplayer. They wanted that extra tick on the box. You saw it with something like, Homefront, the original one, which actually made a great deal of sales for them, and then everybody had to jump on that bandwagon. But now we're sort of entering a new phase where it's like, no, you know what? We could play Shadows of Mordor and not worry about playing online with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not much for online, right?
No, I don't like playing online. I think that we finally reached a point where game companies can look beyond just raw numbers, because last generation people are saying, okay, well, what's popular? Well, World of Warcraft is popular, and that's a bunch of people playing online, and Call of Duty is popular, and that's a bunch of people.
Both Activision Blizzard titles.
Yeah, and that's what like marketing and PR and the suit guys up top. That's what they say. They say, okay, well, this is a popular thing, so yeah, the single player is great in our game, but we need a popular multiplayer thing. And the developers are like, well, we didn't build this. Like, this isn't a thing. And now we're getting to the point where I feel like games are finally comfortable enough to just say, you know what, this is a multiplayer game. Overwatch isn't a single player game. What's the story of Overwatch? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, just infer on your own. I mean, you can read about it, but I'd rather just like imagine my own story for Overwatch.
Why are all these colorful characters fighting each?
Fuck off, nerd.
And for the record, Diva is a surgeon. Just so you know, that's my belief, is that she's actually a doctor and she's very professional, but then she lets loose. She gets to relive her past of playing a lot of video games, and that's why she's so. Yeah, that's my fan theory right there.
So
let's get a news story on that.
Yeah, fan theory.
One fan theory on Overwatch that'll blow your mind.
There you go. Perfect. All the clicks are coming in.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, and thank God we have successful independent games. Like, I think that's been a big part of this generation. Like AAA games, looking at independent games and going, oh, you can just do one thing really well, and that's fine. It's okay. And I would rather have games do that. Like, when there's multiplayer tacked onto Tomb Raider, I don't give a shit. No one gives a shit. That's not why people are playing Tomb Raider. So, yeah, it's just game companies starting to learn little by little that you can actually do these things and people be okay with it.
And I'm beginning to believe, I really am beginning to believe that multiplayer and single player are largely different audiences. Now, I play multiplayer and single player. I enjoy both immensely, but I'm beginning to believe that there's a younger generation that primarily plays something like Rainbow Six Siege and Call of Duty and Overwatch, and then there's an older generation that's embracing, single player campaigns like, I don't know, The Phantom Pain from Metal Gear Solid. And that kind of makes me sad, but at the same time, I'm sort of relieved that they've kind of recognized that you can't chase after both audiences unless your name is Call of Duty. But at the same time, I wonder, just, I don't know, email the show. Do you play mostly single player or multiplayer? Like, do you actually recognize that there's a pattern to your play that you generally gear towards one thing or the other? Because for me, I can bounce through both, but I know some people that are just like, it's multiplayer only, I'm less inclined.
Yeah, and that's certainly how I am. And I think you're onto something too. With I think older people tend to prefer to stay away from multiplayer just because the environment can be so just either toxic or grating or just like, I don't want to deal with these kids.
But I did something to your mother. I want to tell you.
Yeah.
But wait till we get on Xbox Live. I'll let you know. All right.
But yeah, if you look at the video game industry broadly, the average person who buys a video game and plays it is well into their late 30s.
Right.
So it's the only medium where the core audience is progressively aging. So yeah, games for old people. Just wait, 20 more years, there's just going to be geriatric games.
Finally, match 3s for everyone. Doot, doot. It's going to be like Friends Match 3 in like 20 years. We were talking about PlayStation VR for a second earlier, and it should be noted that Res Infinite is going to be released in October alongside the PlayStation VR headset. This is exciting because Res was the game that came out on the PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast back in 2001, and then was re-released on the Xbox 360 in 2008. I mean, I'm very fond of this game. It always felt like it was It was just slightly out of reach for me, though.
Mhm.
And the idea of being able to play this in VR is immensely exciting. I have an idea, and we were talking about this a little bit. Maybe next week, let's talk about maybe cult classics that
Sure.
belong in VR. You want to do that next week?
Sure.
All right, cool. There's
Let's
your
do
teaser
it.
for next week.
Yeah.
Doot, doot. All right, well, we have to talk about some Microsoft news. They have more, and I mean more, backwards compatible games. They just, every week, just more and more and more. Here's what we've got so far. Blood Knights.
The fuck is that?
I don't even remember Blood Knights. Comic Jumper.
The fuck is that?
I remember Comic Jumper just because the team made something prior to that, and Comic Jumper is not a good game. Crystal Quest.
What? The Final Fantasy game?
No. Dungeons and Dragons Chronicles of Mysteria, which is, I think, an arcade re-release from the Capcom game.
Okay, that game's cool, but that's a weird thing to give backwards compatibility to.
I Am Alive.
That's a video game.
I remember that one. That was pretty cool. Joe Danger Special Edition. That is from the makers of No Man's Sky, in case you're interested in seeing what
Joe Danger's the shit.
what their prior work was. Red Faction Battlegrounds, which is not a very positive Red Factions game. And lastly, Fallout New Vegas.
Why are so many, like 3/4 of these are just like Xbox Live Arcade games?
And that's kind of what I wanted to get to is this, when people see this list, is this meant to convince you to buy an Xbox One? Is it
A very poor job of that.
well, no, is it just the sheer number, like where
Mhm.
where like you said, you don't recognize some of these, right? Or most of these, but you know Fallout New Vegas. So if you're the average person, you see something that says Fallout, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you just see a bunch of other things. You're like, oh, I bet they're good. I don't know them. You know, I'm just
Yeah.
going with maybe they're inferring the quality of the rest of these titles based off the one they recognize.
I don't know. I think the strength of this whole backwards compatibility thing is the raw numbers.
Mhm.
Like Xbox One backwards compatibility over 952 games or something. That's not a real number.
I think it's like in the high 200s, though.
Okay. See, once you get that number high enough, especially once you get into 4 digits, then it becomes interesting. That's your selling point. As it stands right now, I don't see why I need any of these things. Like, I can say, okay, well, I can buy Fallout New Vegas on the Steam Summer Sale for like nothing.
But they're assuming you don't have a PC.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. And if that's the case, I guess maybe like if I don't have Fallout on the 360 and I don't have a PC that can play Fallout New Vegas because I don't know why I live in a bunker somewhere.
Yeah.
But I have an Xbox One and I like Fallout 4 and I want to try it. Like, this is a very like specific.
Well, I think it's more just it's like it's embracing digital hoarding in a way, where it's just kind of like, oh, you can take all your stuff everywhere with you. No, they'll never leave you now. You know, even though you'll never play it. It's just the idea that you can. You can.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not sure who that's for. I'm just wondering if it's for the people that are potential Xbox purchasers, you know, or if it's actually for people that already have the console to kind of evangelize the console features. But it is interesting, and I think it's been largely successful ever since they went away from that monthly program, which was disastrous. Every single month it was like, this isn't Red Dead Redemption, this is Kane Lynch 2 Dead Men. But Kane Lynch 2 is kind of cool. It's not fun to play, but that is like a 3D Hotline Miami.
Can we talk about how let's make that the title of the show this week? Kane Lynch 2 is kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
Oh god.
Doot doot. Guess what? This is some Twitter drama right here for you, except it's actually positive Twitter drama. Ed Boon received a tweet where someone said, hey, do a crossover of Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat, to which he responded, loves me some KI, but a crossover would have to be an Xbox exclusive, in which Phil Spencer tweeted back, love this idea. Now, that doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. Obviously,
No.
they're already busy with Injustice 2, but can you imagine a world where Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat are merged together into a singular title? I understand Mortal Kombat being very popular, and Killer Instinct, I think before the most recent release, I could even see happening. But does Killer Instinct have enough clout right now to function as a major property on the level of something like a Mortal Kombat?
No, I don't think so. But at the same time, it doesn't need to. Like, it's conceptually interesting enough to kind of get your ears to perk up. And
it is good. If you've never played it, it is good.
And Mortal Kombat can shoulder the brunt of the popularity. That's fine. I mean, we live in a world where Tatsunoko versus Capcom exists.
This is a beautiful moment in time. I got to see Frank West do a lariat.
Yeah. So if that can exist, I think we can have, you know, Killer Instinct against Mortal Kombat.
Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. Doot doot. South Park. The Fractured Butthole.
Butthole.
It's the sequel to South Park: The Stick of Truth, in which you played as the new kid in town. However, you can only play as a boy. Are they changing that? The answer is yes. Here's a quote from Matt Stone. Then someone's like, what if you can be a girl? Narratively, it didn't work. We'd have to shit-can the whole game. So we just left it the way it was. He's talking about Stick of Truth. This time, we obviously wanted to add that. The boys are little boys because it's really a story about little boys running around. So they don't care about your character being a girl. That seems weird. They always seem to care about it in the show, and they're dumb about it, and they don't know. So you're in hiding, or do you end up totally caring about that and totally treat your character differently? So we ended up doing those things differently for different characters. By this point, they said, we figured everyone's going to pick it. So now you can play as a girl, and they're probably going to be really mean to you for being a girl.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm excited for this. That sounds really awesome. They actually are giving you that option.
Sure.
I'm really concerned that it's just going to be the same joke over and over and over again, no matter where you go.
It could be, although I like that this was something that they obviously thought about going into the sequel. Like, it was something they really considered. Because that's I understand that. I know why they didn't allow you to choose your gender in the first game. It makes sense because of who the characters are in South Park and how the story plays out. It would not work.
And it's
because
a narrative-focused game. It's very narrative-focused.
And you're 8-year-old boys. And 8-year-old boys fucking hate girls, or at least they act like they do.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But I'm interested now because since they built it from the ground up with that in mind, it's going to make more sense.
I hope so, because like I said, it would be, I hope that they actually change the dialogue enough that makes it worthwhile for multiple playthroughs without it just being just kind of like, you're a girl, like every time you walk into a room, because then it's just going to get boring. Like, that's just an annoying joke. And I mean, they seem to have successfully balanced that last time with everyone calling you douchebag, without it becoming annoying. Like, they knew how to pepper those jokes in. I mean, they're taking on a lot of responsibility with this title, and it's coming out much faster than the last one. Last one was in development hell forever. So I'm hoping that along the way they are able to take advantage of those lessons that they learned through the Stick of Truth. But I'm hoping that the rapid production doesn't kind of confuse them a bit, where they're like, oh, sure, yeah, this is great. Also, it's Ubisoft. I'm sure they're willing to be like, whatever, it'll sell.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Ubisoft, doot doot. Watch Dogs 2 is not going to be designed like your traditional Ubisoft title. At least that's according to Jonathan Morin. Here's what he said. It's not a game where you open your map and everything's there. There are no towers. You just explore the world.
I'll believe it when I see it.
No. They've replaced it, in fact, with basically a version of Twitter followers. Players start with a few followers in DeadSect. But pretty soon, you realize you're going to need more if you want to pull off big operations. So you start free roaming. Every time you get followers, it's like you're unlocking the DeadSect hive mind. You're also unlocking new knowledge, new operations, new co-op missions. Well, I don't know if they even mentioned co-op before, but there you go. And then organically, you use those endgame milestones. I'm happy that they challenged themselves in this way. However, I have to admit that the towers were my favorite part of the last Watch Dogs game. They were really good because you could choose to go in stealth or action-packed, and sometimes the mission would fall apart, and then you'd have to take out some dude before you could escape like a parking structure. It was really fun.
So, I don't understand. You're supposed to be like a big-time hacker, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're big-time or small-time. I don't know.
Either way, you progress through the world by accumulating Twitter followers? Is that...
I think that the DeadSect followers, because those are fellow hackers, might help you.
This is like hacker LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, we were talking about what was it? Shadow Mordor before. Couldn't you use some people to join your side? You could possess their mind.
Sure.
I think it's like that, where they're going to help you crack open certain missions.
Okay. I'm just saying, if I was a hacker, and my job is to do, if
stop your cover,
on,
dude.
You're right.
End the cover.
Like. I don't think I'd want to be that popular on the internet because then everybody would know me and then I'd get in trouble.
I think that's kind of the gimmick in this game, is that you're an open hacker that's like, here I am, and you can't do anything because the whole world runs on technology, and I'm like a god now.
Oh,
yeah.
Fancy.
I mean, and I think I prefer that because that's what they did last time, where I was going to say his name was Aiden Pierce. It might be. I hope it's not. I don't want to remember the name of the protagonist from Watch Dogs, but he actually had this ability where his face would always be covered in video footage because he could automatically hack it.
Gruffy McWhiteman.
Yeah, and you want something different this time. And I think the idea of just being like, yep, that's me. I did all that. Come get me. Haha, you never will. Because I did something on my phone that makes the barriers go up and cop cars crash.
Are you legit excited for this?
I am. I really am. But I'm not as excited for this as I am for the next sequel we're going to talk about.
Oh, no.
Doot doot. According to the South Korean Game Ratings Board, not the North Korean Game Ratings Board.
No.
Totally different over there.
Dear Leader Simulator 2016.
According to the Korean Game Ratings Board, there is a game coming to the PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Is it true? Is it not? We don't know. But it is titled Pac-Man Championship Edition 2.
Sign me up.
Did you ever play Championship
it's
Edition?
Great. It's amazing.
In case you didn't play this game, it's not like your traditional Pac-Man. It's basically like a endless runner of sorts, where it's a traditional map, and you have to eat the pellets, and every time you pass a ghost, they wake up and they start chasing you, and then you create this long train of ghosts, and then you eat that power pellet, and you turn around, and you start just like and eating all of them, and then there's lots of blinky lights and sounds. Dude, I'm just telling you, that ghost train, I've said it before and I'll say it again, when you start getting that big long ghost train, it is like removing the rubber band and letting the heroin hit the bloodstream. It is so good.
It is a lot
so
of fun.
good.
It's the feedback from that game is just incredible. Like no matter how well you're doing or how poorly you're doing, you just feel great playing it. Also, when am I going to get a Pac-Man collection? I want a Pac-Man collection.
Well, if you download Pac-Man 2, the new adventure, you can actually earn money to go into the arcade and play those.
Listen, this is what I want. I want all the Pac-Man.
I
want Championship Edition. I want this new one that's not out yet, but this is my dream, so I can have it in my Pac-Man collection.
All right.
And I want that game that was on the GameCube where you could use your Game Boy Advance to do shit.
Pac-Man Versus.
Yes, I want that one.
You gotta give Nintendo credit. You can connect your 3DS to play Smash Brothers, but not that.
And I want that iOS game that came out last year from the guys that made Crossy Road.
That's already out on PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 currently.
Good. So put it all in a box and give it to me.
I could be down for that. And also Pac-Man 2, the new adventure, which I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most existential game I've ever
played.
So
what if they pack all those games together?
PAC.
Gotcha. Pack it together. We'll call it the Pack.
You
like where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also get like a 100 page like perfect bound book with history of Pac-Man in it. See, these are good ideas. Namco, call me, baby. I'm here for you.
I don't want the book. I want them to do the Namco Museum treatment, where it's actually
just walk around in 3D.
I love that. You walk around Pac-Man's house and you play all the different games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like
that'd be fine too. Give it to me. Come on, Namco.
Damn it, Bandai Namco. Doot doot. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. What a game. We all loved it, but unfortunately Capcom's license with the Disney-owned company no longer exists. Is there any chance we'll ever see it again? Well, according to Jae Ong, he's the vice president of Marvel Games, he said there's nothing we can say at this time. Let's just say that we hear that a lot. We love our fans. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad you mentioned that. And we certainly want to please them. Beyond that, we can't say anything at this time. But who knows what the future holds. In fact, Marvel has a lot in the works. Quite a few in the console space that are unannounced. That's pretty awesome. So if they have a lot planned, they definitely have taken a new approach to their titles where they're making sure there's plenty of space to breathe. It's not the days of Iron Man 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, garbage games rushed out to be there for a movie. Now we have these Spider-Man games that are going to be out that are not related to the film. They're given the time to be as good as they can be and take as long as they can. Is there any property in particular you want to see? I know you're not the biggest comic book guy.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's characters that I'm interested to see what they would do with them. More in the DC space, I guess.
Oh yeah, same here.
But
yeah.
like what would a Flash game be that wasn't an endless runner?
Or a Doom Patrol game.
Yeah, something like that. As far as Marvel goes, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I'm curious to see, because we look at that Spider-Man game, and it's a big open world, like Spider-Man 2, which is literally over a decade old at this point. And I'm wondering how much of what they do in the future is going to be influenced from the successful games of the past. In other words, will we see another Marvel Ultimate Alliance or X-Men Legends? Those are very, very popular games.
Yeah, I loved X-Men Legends. And I would love an Avengers game or an X-Men Legends style game where it's like a character-based action RPG. Give me Marvel Dark Souls.
Oh, that'd be cool. It's just Captain America with the shield just walking down there. I mean, maybe they can get another, God, what was that called? Rise of the Imperfects. It was the EA-produced Marvel fighting game that was in 3D. It was like 2004. I don't know if you remember this.
What was that shitty Silicon Knights?
X-Men Academy.
Oh, that game is hot diarrhea.
Yeah, you can't legally buy that new anymore because they used Unreal Engine and they got sued out of existence. I don't know if you remember that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because they tried to sue Epic Games over the Unreal Engine, and the judge was like, no, and not only that, you can't use the Unreal Engine. But we already have games out. Well, you can't sell those anymore.
That's good to know, because I don't think you could pay me $50 to play that game.
I own a copy of 2 Human because of that.
Oh, God. Did it come for free with it?
It was $2. It was not bad.
Oof.
Doot doot. Hotline Miami 2. Not as good as Hotline Miami 1, but maybe it will now because they've announced and released the level editor. It was in beta since December, and now you can create your very own Hotline Miami 2 stages on your PC. Real quick, I do hope this makes the transition to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 because we're already seeing mods being implemented with Fallout and even the upcoming Elder Scrolls Remastered.
Sure.
But I have to say, I'm really excited for this just because Hotline Miami 2, I don't know if you ever beat that game or how far you got into it, but those stages were just too big.
Yeah.
Like, all of them were too big. You couldn't even see everything. You'd get shot randomly all the time in that game. I mean, do you think that fans will actually make a better Hotline Miami 2 than the original Hotline Miami 2?
I'm not really concerned with fans making Hotline Miami-esque levels. This is kind of how I feel about any level editor for a game. Mario Maker is a great example. I don't give a fuck if someone makes a Mario Maker level and it's just like, it's just like a Mario level. No, you're not Nintendo. I don't want to play your Diet Bargain Bin Dollar Tree fucking Mario level. What I did like is when people just did really, really weird shit. So I want people to take the level editor for Hotline Miami and make something that is completely not Hotline Miami.
I wonder if you can make your own sprites, because that would make it just bonkers.
I would love that. Well, and this is great too, because obviously, like, people have been toying around with Mario Maker, but I think Hotline Miami 2 is going to open up some doors for people to do some really interesting stuff. And the Binding of Isaac level editor is coming out soon too. And in addition to the level editor, you're going to be able to like mod it any single way that you want. So I think in the future, we're going to see people using Hotline Miami and Binding of Isaac as engines, basically, to build new games on.
You know, I really wanted to make my joke about Hotline Miami and opening doors, but you just kept on going.
No, it's good.
You knock people over when...
Because you knock it with the doors. It's going to open some doors. Like a baseball bat.
Well, not every game has a future. Doot, doot. It turns out that Criterion's... whatever you want to call it, that
collection.
The thing they showed at E3 2014 when they didn't have any games, when they showed things with like helicopters and snowboarding or something. I don't even know if you remember this. It was at E3 press conference for EA, and it was just Criterion just showing like ATVs and be like, we're working on something that has to do with extreme sports.
We're working on an extreme tech demo.
Well, EA has said while they're moving on from the previous project they've spoken about, they aren't pursuing it. They are continuing to build new ideas and experiment with new IP for EA, in addition to continuing to collaborate with other EA studios. In other words, it's been abandoned. Why in the hell would you ever announce something when it's nothing? Like that's I mean, this really isn't a news story beyond that, but just like at E3 2014, they showed them hanging out making 3D models.
Well, and the answer is to fill time, which is, as sad as it sounds, that's exactly what it is. Because it's not like at E3 they thought, oh yeah, we're totally going ahead with this project. They knew it was fucked at that point. That's
so bonkers. I can't believe they did that. It's just so irresponsible. Like, it actually is, like, from a business standpoint, irresponsible to be like, we have this in the works. No, we don't. Like, when was it canceled? Do you think a month or 2 months after that? That's the thing they're leaving out here. Is people brought this up because it wasn't at E3 for the second year in a row. And I think they were like, oh, we haven't been working on that since, like, September of 2014. We'll never know. I guess we'll never know.
Yep.
Until somebody lets us know. Doot doot. I love L.A. Noire. And what I love about L.A. Noire is that it was an original title. And I had my hopes set up because of Horror of the Orient. That's right. Horror of the Orient.
Or Horient, as we like to call it around these parts.
Taking place in 1936 Shanghai. It was going to be the follow-up to L.A. Noire with much of the team from Team Bondi. Unfortunately, the producer for the title, Derek Proud, had this to say. That was one of the games and one of the studios I kind of left right at the bitter end when we got wrapped up. It was something we were all passionate about, but in the end, that was the way it went. There's really no more news to this, and probably most of you don't even care about Horror of the
Crash
Orient.
and burn.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad. And I actually saw a lot of people online saying, I loved L.A. Noire. Do people even remember that game existed?
Yeah. I think it's not like, in terms of popularity, it's not top tier Rockstar, but I think most people have fond memories of it. The problem is it's a middle of the road franchise.
Oh my god!
Listen, and I'm not talking in terms of the quality of the game. I'm talking in terms of popularity. It's middle of the road. It's not Grand Theft Auto. Let's be frank here, or even Red Dead Redemption.
But what is
Smuggler's Run? My favorite.
I swear, if anybody else besides Rockstar helped work on that, which they didn't even make the game, they came in and they were the closers on it.
But the point still stands. You're making a sequel to a game that came out several years ago that was well received, sold reasonably well, but overall isn't top tier Rockstar. So you're making a sequel and you're not calling it L.A. Noire 2. You're completely changing the name, and that name happens to be Horror of the Orient.
Catchy title.
I can tell you right now, if I'm guy in a suit, and you're spending bajillions of dollars like
get out
3D
the TV
modeling
campaign.
the place,
Yeah.
no, that's not.
Yeah, no, what's it? Put it on the Walmart shelves so that all the kids can see Horror of the Orient.
Exactly. No.
For me, L.A. Noire was that's my favorite game of 2011. And it's funny because I mentioned that and somebody said, like, what's wrong with you? Don't you remember Skyrim and Portal 2 and Skyward Sword and just like all these games? That's like, yeah, those are all sequels. Those are all reiterations, improved reiterations of like prior titles. But L.A. Noire really is like the most, if you ask me what like the most unique titles of the past generation, like that 10-year cycle, that's in the top 5. So good. Maybe I'll do a live dive of it at some point if I still do live dives. I'm not sure. They're kind of a waste of time.
Waste of time dives.
Doot doot. Supermassive Games, sadly, isn't working on a sequel to their somewhat popular game, Until Dawn. Another very unique title, Until Dawn. According to Pete Samuels, he's the managing director over at Supermassive Games, we're not working on Until Dawn 2 at the moment. We're working on other things. Well, there's specifics for you.
Good for them.
We really want to bring those experiences, those cinematic storytelling, narrative-driven games, be it horror or not, to other platforms as well. Here's the thing, though. We know that they're working on the PlayStation VR, or they have some relation to the PlayStation VR, Until Dawn, Blood something, whatever it was called. That one experience, the on-rails experience. If they're saying whether that be horror or not, that it's weird because if it is horror, it should be Until Dawn 2. Why not make that like an anthology series, kind of like what Halloween was supposed to be? And if it's not horror, what other genre really works with that style of gameplay that's not already being produced by Quantum Dream? The guys that make, Detroit, your favorite game.
Yes, emotions.
Yeah, don't you feel the emotions? I don't know. Am I crazy here? Because I really feel like, what are you going to make, a comedy or a drama or Shrek?
I don't know.
The interactive
good for them.
experience?
We just harangued sequels all 30 seconds ago. Good
because
for them.
I was mad they canceled the sequel to something.
Don't make sequels. Don't make sequels. Sequels are not the answer. If you want to do something different, if you're not artistically inspired to continue the narrative of a series that you've created, do something else.
But
good for them.
It's true. But
I am more terrified of the fact that they're making an on-rails horror game. Do you remember the last time Sony dabbled in that with the PlayStation Move?
No.
Yeah, they made some spooky time on-rails PlayStation Move game that was like the biggest pile of dog dicks I've ever seen in my entire life.
I don't even remember that game.
Yeah, I'll find the name during the break, and then I'll just randomly shout it out in the middle of the show.
Oh, by the way, in case you're hearing horns, they're recording a musical in the studio this week.
That's right.
I probably should have mentioned that earlier. Doot doot. Devil's Third is closing its online feature.
I saw that.
Yes, starting on December 28th, you will no longer be able to play Devil's Third online. However, this Wii U exclusive and I guess PC multiplayer game, just the multiplayer, don't have the single player on PC, will be only $30 on the Wii U eShop. Wow. I mean, Devil's Third, can you believe that they're not even closing out the online until the end of the year? Like, how How have they been surviving? I really don't
I
understand.
know. I forgot that game existed until I read that news story the other day.
I can't even imagine them leaving that on for all these months.
Is there anybody playing it right now? I mean, maybe it'll get a spike now because people are like, well, I may as well try it.
The online multiplayer, I did play it. Awful. Just awful.
That's interesting because I think like one of the only positive things I've heard about it is some people were like, yeah, the multiplayer's fun.
Jeez. I mean, it's really easy to get kills, but because it's easy for everyone to get kills, it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no skill involved. And I don't think it needs to be skill-based. I'm better than you. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, then I stab him, and then someone runs up and stabs me, and someone runs up and stabs him. It's kind of like, well, unless I have a reaction to that move.
So this is one of those games where people every once in a while, you read a think piece, it's like, oh, why is it so hard to make a so bad it's good video game?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in other mediums, it happens all the time. Obviously, Deadly Premonition is a good example of this.
Oh, yeah.
Deadly Premonition is a tire fire, but in the best way humanly possible. It's so fucking weird. And it plays just well enough that you can get around the issues it has. Is Devil's Third a candidate for so bad it's good?
No.
I just because and again, this is coming from someone who has not played it, but I've looked at it. I've said if this was used for $10,
yeah,
maybe.
No, the cutscenes are funny, but you don't want to play anything to get up there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's about a guy who plays drums in a prison and kills people.
No. It's about a guy who's performing a huge drum solo in the basement of Guantanamo Bay.
Oh,
who breaks out because the government needs him again. Why is he in Guantanamo Bay? Whatever, and he's covered in tattoos, and he has to kill his former mercenary friends.
See, that's a hard sell for me. Like, now I want it.
Yeah, but then you have to play the game, and it's just not.
I'm just saying, as like an impulse buy, like a Snickers bar in the checkout line.
I wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't do it.
You know, you ever notice how impulse buy items have increased in price because they know people aren't using cash as much? I was looking at that this week. I'm just like, wow, that's an $8 thing right there for an impulse buy. It's like, oh yeah. No one uses cash, so they have unlimited funds, theoretically. Okay. Vince Zambella. He worked on the original Call of Duty series, including Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is part 4 of Call of Duty. And then, of course, something happened between him and Activision, and now he's over at EA working on Titanfall. But then, of course, he heard the news that they are remaking Call of Duty 4. So he actually gave some words of advice to the people that are working on it. And I mean, literally, he called them up and said, quote, "Don't fuck it up." That's on my record response. I rang them up and said, honestly, don't fuck it up. It's a huge part of people's gaming memories. How awesome is that?
Don't fuck it up.
Hey, I just got done suing this company. I'm going to call them up and say, hey, don't fuck that up. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I respect the hell out of him. Of course, he's not the only person. There's Zampella and there's the other person. But Zampella is like the more extroverted of the two, you could say, because he's actually willing to get on stage and talk about his titles. I wish that more people would do that, you know, like I don't know what any other example there would be.
I didn't know people had such fond memories of that game. I didn't know it was such a big deal.
Call of Duty 4 is probably one of the, you could say the most important, or...
Is that the one with the airport scene or whatever?
That would actually be part 2.
Okay, see, that's all I know as far as like iconic Call of Duty moments.
Call of Duty changed everything. It absolutely changed, like nothing's been the same. And I can honestly say that. And... You know, for the time when it came out, it was revolutionary, and it was it basically took a lot of elements from games that were great. Taking the gameplay of Medal of Honor and the original Call of Duty, taking the progressive system that sort of resembled something, say, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, because at that time, people weren't really introducing RPG elements into their multiplayer and a progressive system, and that game it definitely was. It's so important. I mean, you gotta give it a shot. I mean, they're gonna have the remaster coming out. You gotta play it now.
Maybe I won't.
I know you say you can't go, I can't go back and play Call of Duty 4, it's old. But now you can. You gotta do it.
But if I don't play the first 3, how will I get all the references? Actually, I own Call of Duty 3? That's a World War II one.
That is not a good one.
No. But
I played that on the Wii.
I have it on the Wii.
Yeah, it's not good.
I think it's because, like, I got my Wii and I was just like, shit, what can I buy? I was like, all right, I'll try this.
I'll shoot a Nazi.
Why not?
Speaking of, I saw this thing online where someone asked the question, do I need to play the first 16 NBA games to play NBA 2K17? It's pretty great.
Yes.
Pretty good. Doot. Quake came out a long time ago. So long ago that we were impressed by polygons. But now, Now Quake is old, but that didn't stop Machine Games, the people behind Wolfenstein The New Order, from releasing a brand new episode for Quake. They tweeted out, "Happy 20th to Quake at id Software. As a gift to the fans, we've created a new episode of the game, which you can download and then put into your copy." This is why Machine Games is so great. Because there's no profit to be made from that.
No.
There's literally, it's impossible unless they're going to start up a Patreon for their Quake episodes projects. How great is that they actually took the time to sit down and recreate something?
Now you just got to figure out how to make Quake run on your PC in 2016.
Just download it from Steam.
You can get it on Steam, really?
Yeah, Steam sale, bro. It's cheap right now. Just get that id box. That way you can play Rage, one of the most underrated games of the past 5 years.
Says only Colin and no one else. He likes dune buggy races in his shitty Borderlands clones.
The dune buggy race was not good, but I'll tell you, the way that the guns feel and the physics in that game, awesome.
It's weird because that game is like 5 discs? And somehow all that extra storage space, and they couldn't figure out how to include some fun. Zing!
It's only 3 discs, and that's only on the Xbox 360. 2, which are the single player, 1 is the multiplayer. I never played the multiplayer. I really like that game. I love the... whatever. And John Goodman's in it. Yabba dabba do it. Buy it today. Toot toot. Kenji Inafune is being forced to respond from the reception of My Number 9. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by horns that are playing underneath us right now. He says, "If you want to hurl insults at me, go fuck yourself." That's right. He is... No, I'm kidding. He said, if you want to hurl insults at me, it's totally my fault. I'm the key creator. I will own that responsibility. Also worth noting, the credits are 4 hours long because they have to name all 67,000 backers.
Jesus.
Which reminded me of that episode of The Simpsons where Bart says, tells his friends he's working for Krusty, and the credits are really, going by fast. He has to pause his VCR to show his name off. How pissed would you be off if your name was like an hour 3? You'd be like, God damn it, no one's gonna know.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, there's no way around that, really.
We were talking about my Number 9 beforehand because we both had a chance to play it, and in fact, I'll have my episode of Worth It on My Number 9. That'll be out on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously think he surrounded himself with the wrong people. I think it's all the old people that he brought out of retirement from the games industry to be like, "Oh, I haven't made graphics in years." Well, you want to work with Unreal Engine 3? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm Jimmy Stewart and I make the Mega Man games.
Wow. Harvey, the bunny rabbit.
Wow.
Yeah, you like that, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this a little bit before. It's like nihilist Mega Man, where it's so lifeless and uncaring, and there's no anything. It's just bland. And people, of course, people are angry on the internet, like, Metacritic bombing the shit out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Couple things to remember, and I'm a person who backed this Kickstarter. I was hopeful. I saw it, and I'm like, oh my god, I love Mega Man 9 and 10. I want this to be another Mega Man. Oh my god. And it isn't. It is not.
Yeah.
And on some level, that's disappointing, but also that's me projecting my hopes and desires onto a video game. Outside of the Mega Man comparisons, just standing alone, it doesn't work.
Nope.
And it is so... And you know what? I like the combo system to a degree. It's okay. There's a lot of clunkiness, but the thing that kills it for me is it is so bland and lifeless.
Just sterile environments.
Flat, and aesthetically, it's horrible.
I like the music.
Yeah, music's all right.
But yeah, you're right. And also, there's just some weird things with the voice acting. They didn't mix the audio correctly, so it's really quiet at some point, and the mouths don't move when they're talking. It's just very strange that they even made this game in 3D to begin with.
Can I tell you what it reminds me of? So, during the Nintendo 64's lifespan, you would constantly see games with these colorful, beautifully designed box art, and you're like, oh my god, Chameleon Twist is going to be the best thing I ever played. And then you're like,
gray, brown bullshit when you get home.
Yeah, and it's just smudgy. And that's how I feel about Mighty Number 9. It's like a lost Nintendo 64 game where the promise of all the concept art and all the ideas, it just turns into aesthetic gruel.
It's hilarious to me that you select your next stage by looking at a world map, and then every stage hides the world from you. It's always these enclosed environments. You don't want to see it. No windows, nothing. You can't see what's going on.
Yeah, and we live in a world where there's a beautiful new Shantae game that's coming out. There's an amazing game called motherfucking Shovel Knight that you need to play.
Yeah.
These things already exist. Cuphead is on everyone's radar.
How can they build an animated series off of this and they don't even show anything to do with the world. Like nothing. You can't. I mean, I'm really like they deliberately hide things from you.
Yeah, and that kind of gets to the cynicism of the entire Mighty Number 9 universe right now, where they're concerned with, oh, well, there's going to be a sequel and there's going to be a cartoon, and it's like, damn, dude, can't you just get the first thing right and then we'll worry about this other stuff? But because of the way Kickstarter works, this game is a success.
It's so depressing.
It's already a success.
Well, but remember, kids, you paid for a game to be made, not a good game to be made. That's the difference. A toot. Real quick, let's talk about Shovel Knight, because they announced that Spectre Knight and King Knight will be getting their own expansion packs for free.
Yeah.
Hey, Yacht Club Games, stop it. Stop it.
Stop being the best.
No, this is bad business. Stop it. Stop giving away free stuff. Go make something or charge for it. Stop giving away free stuff.
No, keep giving me free shit. That's awesome.
No, they're a small team. They need to make money. Like
doesn't matter. You make money selling the base game. Don't nickel and dime me on DLC.
Who is buying this game?
Oh my God, Johnny Capitalist over here with his monocle and his top hat.
They made a very good product.
Yeah.
They never need to give anything else for free. They already that game is more than worth what you pay for it to begin with. And they're just adding all this value to it, and I think that's great, if you're a consumer, but I don't think I think they're getting to that point where it's starting to tip the scales so in favor of consumers, they're losing. And I'm sure they're working on another game at the same time.
I disagree with you 110%, and here's why. One, the fact that you would harangue a company for giving us something for free, because that's asinine.
For the second time in a row.
Third
time.
You're assuming that because they're giving this to us for free, that they haven't already made a shit ton on Shovel Knight. And the reality of the situation is Shovel Knight has done so incredibly well and exceeded expectations that this is just a thank you. This is a victory lap. They already did what they set out to do. They basically doubled what they wanted to make. There's no reason. And the fact that you would harangue them for giving us something for free, you look like a supervillain right now. You are fucking Apocalypse. I hope you know that.
I got my suit coat actually over there. I forgot to put it on. But I'll say this much, is that I think that they need to stop, because they need to create an appetite for their product. You're overfeeding your audience right now. Like, oh, here's a free expansion pack for this great game. Here's 2 free expansion packs. And that's even counting the additional options that came with the Plague Knight stage. Even though I thought that Plague Knight thing wasn't very good, it was impressive that they made this whole thing for free. It was a brand new game, essentially.
So you're saying if they charged for it instead of giving it out for free, people would want it more?
I think they shouldn't be putting it out, period. I think they should just be creating an appetite for their audience for their next project. I think they shouldn't be focusing all this. It's a very small team. They shouldn't be focusing their development time on this to begin with. They should be focusing on the next project.
But you still need to own the base game. So isn't this just, the whole, all the extra added value, isn't that an advertisement for the base game?
At what point, where does this really help them? Like outside of,
hey, Team Fortress 2 says hi.
Yeah, but Shovel Knight is not Team Fortress 2 because it's not a multiplayer game and it's not...
There's plenty of examples of this. Isaac is another good example where there's incremental updates. Some are paid, some are free. And it works. The fan base keeps growing because the game keeps getting bigger and better.
But you look at how many people they have working there for the Mighty Isaac. Yeah.
It's 3 dudes.
Exactly. But they have a real team at Yacht Club Games that's working on a new project.
Of like 20 dudes.
Just focus on what you're working on. Stop.
I would say that this is a misguided criticism only because you don't have their pocketbooks open. You have no idea what their financial situation is. And you're saying, Colin Tanner, host of a podcast, knows what Yacht Club Games should be doing and not Yacht Club Games.
Yes, I do. Because I'm saying they're spoiling their audience. So when you put out that next game and then a year from...
PressureCastPod@gmail.com.
When you put out that next game, right? And it sells very well, and then you announce some paid DLC. Oh, on Shovel Knight, you didn't have to pay for any of this. You're spoiling your audience, and that means you can't.
Now you're creating an entire scenario that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You're assuming that 1, their new game will include paid DLC.
If it does,
2, people will be upset. You're creating an entire world that doesn't exist.
It's true. I'm just saying that if they continue this pattern of giving away, don't spoil your audience.
They continue this pattern of living in your delusional non-reality.
No, just on its own, just at the very simple thing of giving away free stuff, I think it's very bad for a small independent company to do that 2 years after the game's been out. Like, you're spoiling your audience at this point. Like, focus on what you need to make and put it out there, or charge. Make some damn money. Like,
you have a very unpopular opinion.
They gave away the Plague Knight thing. There's no reason to give out more stuff.
That was a Kickstarter thing. Like, Plague Knight was including Kickstarter. They didn't give it away. That was part of the game.
I got for free.
Well, yeah, but it was a Kickstarter stretch goal, so they didn't
Yeah.
give it away. They budgeted for it to exist.
And also got on the whole crossplay thing, so I can play it on my Vita and my PlayStation 3 and my PlayStation 4. I mean, just keep giving me stuff and don't make any money. Don't make too much money now.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
let me tell you,
you're a
Colin,
rising star. Don't make too much money.
I like this game so much that when I backed it on Kickstarter, I got it on the Wii U, and then I bought it again so I could play it on Vita. Like I bought a game twice because I liked it so much.
No, when you bought it on Vita, you can play it on everything now because it's all crossplay. So you got 3 free. You got bought one version, you got 2 free. Now you're getting 2 free expansion packs. It's been 2 years. I'm just saying, this is building a. All right, I'll move on.
You better move on.
We disagree immensely on that.
You disagree with the rest of the universe. Dude, let me hold that shovel for you so you can stop digging a hole.
I'm just looking out for Yacht Club Games. I mean, they are...
Because Lord knows they can't take care of themselves. Thank you, Colin, you gracious soul.
If they're giving away free stuff, that's not good for business after a certain point. I'm just saying.
I don't think you have a leg to stand on.
Colin,
how many video games have you designed and shipped, and how many budgets have you balanced?
I have not, but I have seen what happens in business when you start to give away too much free stuff.
Do you have some examples of games that have failed because of their generosity?
Paid mods. Oh my God, when people reacted to that. Boy, this is always free. We only get free things with Skyrim. The moment you try to introduce something that is...
But no. That's a cultural issue.
And it's going to get worse when you've already created a precedent when you give away free stuff.
Mods, that's apples and oranges. Mods are a cultural issue. Mods began because people were modifying games independent of the developer. So when a developer takes that thing and turns a free cultural thing into a commodity, that is bad. So what you're saying is something that is already a commodity cannot become free.
No.
That's cynical capitalism.
No, that's because I see the level of entitlement that is already on the internet. And when you actually have a company like Yacht Club Games that's creating a reputation for supporting their games, they're single-player games, mind you.
Yeah.
They're single-player games that are actually getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper year by year, and they're putting more and more stuff into it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Obviously, they're probably focusing on a different title, but it's already a small team.
Do you see Yacht Club Games then as a sea change that will fundamentally disrupt how we view DLC?
No. In fact, I see it as the opposite. I see that they are just screwing themselves over eventually. They can be making money.
God.
Make the money.
The cynicism, Colin, is it's very depressing.
No, there comes a point where it's like, you don't need to keep giving away free stuff. You just need to start making money. And I'm sure that they made a lot off of Shovel Knight, and that's great. And I appreciate them giving me Plague Knight for free, but now it's like, they're giving us 2 more campaigns.
Colin,
here?
you're not going to be invited to the socialist video game revolution.
I would prefer a better world where we could get away with stuff like this, but that is not the world we live in. And I just whatever.
Guys, email Colin, let him know he's wrong.
I'm just saying, a toot. Sonic team has
Fuck
announced
them,
that they're making another Sonic game. Fuck that. Toot.
Is that Sonic Boom 2, or is another one
It's actually made by Sonic Team. We are going long. We do need to cut through some of these stories.
I didn't know we were going that fast.
That's okay.
I was too busy yelling at you.
That's okay. It's just a difference of opinion, and that's okay.
That's right, kids.
But when we get on Xbox Live tonight...
Yeah, I'm going to call him a fuckboy.
Yeah. The upcoming Ghostbusters game, which is the top-down shooter, is actually going to have an ultimate bundle for $65 that will include a copy of the movie. I thought that was kind of weird.
That is weird.
I know. I wonder if at that point if they're just making... never mind.
We haven't even seen the movie. How do we know if it's good? I don't want that
$65.
Fuck.
The original PlanetSide is officially being shut down after 13 years. Originally launched in 2003. It's the game that I know most people preferred over PlanetSide 2 is what I always heard.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot more cleaner, a lot more easy to get into, whereas PlanetSide 2 had almost too many systems.
That's not a world I ever got into, but that's sad. I like
sad.
games that have long legs like that.
Okay, so we can close this out. Toot. Here are the games that are going to be coming out this week. On Tuesday, Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. I respect them because they're making the money. No, I don't want it. This is where it's going too... See, this is the opposite. This is where it's going too far. It's like, no, wait, why don't we...
Man, you know what we need? We need another Lego game.
Oh, Jesus. Star Ocean, Integrity and Faithlessness will be on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3.
What about Lego Star Ocean?
Yes. We'll do that. Grand Kingdom will be out on the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 4. 7 Days to Die is making its console debut on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Isn't that game still in early access on
I don't
PC?
know. I haven't followed. It was in early access for like 2 years.
I bought it. I played it.
It's sort of like Rust and I don't know.
It felt vaguely like Minecraft to me, and I'm not sure where I'm getting that impression.
Yeah, that's because you punch trees to make wood. That's like all those games. Same with Rust. Punch the tree, make the wood. Punch the rock, make the rock.
That's what I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
Punch the rock to get wood. The Techromancer will be on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. In case you feel like playing along with me, we'll be doing a Worth It episode on 7 Days to Die and the Techromancer. Whether or not there'll be complete reviews or just impression videos, we'll have to wait and see. Also, Prison Architect will be on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and the Division DLC Underground will be launching on the Xbox One.
I just had a heart palpitation trying to think about how Prison Architect will work on a home console.
Now they got that PlayStation 4 touchpad. Beep, beep.
I'm making a touchpad motion.
That's going to do it for the Hype Train. We are going to be back with the 10 best games of 2016 so far.
And a marching band.
The Chart Park, the Idiot of the Week, and Strong History. So please, if you're not too busy, stay tuned after this.
Yeah.
It's the break. That's right. It's time for the break where we tell you to go to iTunes and give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review, because recommendations are the best way to finding the good things in life. But we are no hypocrites. No. We like to recommend things that we enjoy that you should check out. And I know we're really late to the party on this one, but I know they just put out that new OJ Made in America documentary about the OJ Simpson trial and the life of OJ Simpson. And I just told you a little bit ago, I watched the People vs. OJ Simpson, the FX series. Steve, did you enjoy that series?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You get to see John Travolta just covered in makeup. And I don't know who plays Johnny Cochran. Dude is incredible. He's a better Johnny Cochran than Johnny Cochran. Mm-hmm. And Cuba Gooding Jr. actually having a role on something important for the first time in 10 years.
If you enjoy ridiculous makeup and actors with questionable abilities just chewing scenery all day, that's all that show is. It's incredible.
It's a lot of just like people like outsmarting each other in the dumbest ways possible, and then the other person going, "God damn it," and like smashing something. Oh my God. Even if you're like, I don't think I want to watch a murder trial, it's the smartest, stupidest thing I've seen in a long time. Like it's so intelligently crafted to just give you that instant visceral reaction of like, ooh, exciting drama. It's stupid. And you can watch it on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, just go to Hulu, whatever, watch the People vs. O.J. Simpson. I likes it. Steve's likes it. Yous probably likes it. And Weez likes it if you go to iTunes and give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review. And that's about it.
Yeah. Listen to smart, influential people.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It is next week, or actually this week, we're going to be crossing over.
It's the future.
We're going to be crossing over to July, which will be, of course, the 7th month of the year, which means we are surpassing the 6-month mark of 2016. We're halfway through. So why not discuss what are the best games that have come out so far this year? That way, when it's December and people are asking me, what are your favorite games of the year? And I keep telling them that we already have a show coming up, I can just point them back to this episode. How great is that?
Perfect.
So, let's just discuss this. Real casual like. There's no list, no, 10 through 1 or anything like that. We're just going to loosey-goosey this. Steve, what do you got to start this off?
Well, I was thinking about the games that not only I think are the best, but the ones that I've really sunk the most time into, that I've been the most committed to. And one game sticks out above everything else, and it's the game that I constantly go back to, Dark Souls 3. I cannot
Dark Souls 3.
Stop playing it. I put 70 hours into my first playthrough. I just started.
Wait, you beat it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I mean, Liza, what was it, 2 weeks ago? You hadn't beaten it yet.
No, hadn't beaten it yet. But
How's the end boss? Pretty difficult?
No, actually, I think the end boss, he's not easy, but he's just kind of tanky. The bosses that I really enjoyed were in the optional areas.
Yeah.
Which I think are, if you really want to branch out and get that Dark Souls hard, get good, whatever, fanboy fucker nonsense.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. But just the way the game is designed, I think it steps away from a lot of the things that Dark Souls 2 did not do well.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the things that Bloodborne did really well, and it still retains the lineage of the original Dark Souls. I think, for my money, it's probably the best game in the series, although the original Dark Souls has a very special place in my heart.
That's a tricky one. I'd probably still have to go with the original, but I think what I love so much about this part 3 is that we were talking about the boss fights. Those are probably the easiest parts of the game because they have very deliberate patterns that you can read after a while. Mm-hmm. The scariest part is trying to go through these small areas, and you're not sure if that's the area you're supposed to progress. We're like,
sure,
whatever. They're these tiny little guys with like pitchforks. Oh God, I can't survive here. I have to fight the giant knights. Who knew? Mm-hmm. I love that they trick you into thinking, well, they look less intimidating. I'm supposed to go here, but no. Sometimes it's the most intimidating, and it's really preparing you to, for lack of a better way, face your fears, to embrace the danger in a way.
Mm. And there's some seriously terrifying areas. Like the Untended Graves is one of the scariest things I've ever experienced in a video game. God, there's a level in Dark Souls 3 called the Profaned Capital. That's just a scary name. And God, oh shit, the Road of Sacrifices. I don't know if you did.
I don't remember any of the names there, so I'm very impressed. They're just rattling these off.
It's this area where, and spoilers if you're an asshole. You walk in and it's just like this pleasant like little country road and you're like, oh, okay, well, whatever, I'll probably fight some imps or some shit.
Right.
And there's these grotesque bird creatures that just make these horrible screams and like their wings burst through their flesh. It's just, oh my God.
So, I mean, for me, the thing about Dark Souls, though, and I've said this since the very first one, is it's not a hard game. It's a game that you can't play with your cell phone out. And I think that's just what people can't adapt to, is the idea of like, no. You have to pay attention to the game. It's not hard. You are just playing the game. Oh, that's too much for me. And turn off the console.
Yeah.
Like that's all it's asking you is to just play the game.
Sure.
That's it.
And I think the other thing that I really like about this Dark Souls game is I felt like in the original Dark Souls, there's a couple of classes that were super OP.
Yeah, the Pyromancer.
Pyromancer. So it's like you're either a super tank strength build in the original Dark Souls or you're a Pyromancer, just lighting shit up. And in Dark Souls 3, it's a little bit more balanced in the sense that I really feel like I can play the game any way that I want to play it. Like my character right now, he's really nimble, but he wears this thorny armor and he's got an infused set of knives that cause bleed.
Yeah.
So it's a bleed build. Basically, I do low damage, but I build up bleed over time, and then it bursts and it does a shit ton of damage, which is a really cool way to play the regular game. And then when I get invaded by other players, they hate me so much. So much.
I'd say it's the easiest game in the series, including Bloodborne so far, but that shouldn't discourage hardcore fans. Obviously, they're already playing it because it's so well designed that every option is viable. I love that. I love that. Let's go on to a game that you didn't play, but I really enjoyed, The Division, which is essentially the kind of like the MMO third-person shooter that Ubisoft put out earlier this year. What I really like about it is that it seems to be the mechanics that involve cover are so well done, and we've had cover systems for a very long time now. I mean, obviously Gears of War is going to be 10 years old this year, which and Kill.Switch is way older, but Ubisoft really seemed to recognize why cover is fun and how to utilize it best, and why it's fun to break from cover, and just being able to snap close up to a wall and pick off guys. It's just enjoyable. Like, it just feels good, and that's just something you don't often see. And also bouncing from cover to cover, the way that they highlight the system with this orange glow, really great. Not the orange glow you get at the grocery store, which is also very good for your shirts and all that if you got any sort of problems.
Get those stains out, man.
But I mean, I really like the story. I really like the world, the idea that everyone's died from this virus, and it was right after Black Friday, so there's all these Christmas lights everywhere, and there's a terrible blizzard, and you're having to fight off these insane little groups of people that are being taken advantage of and being misinformed about what the Division are there to do. And any other game, the Division would be the bad guys, and I kind of like that you're playing as them. It works very well for me.
I kind of think they are the bad guys in a way.
They're just there to help, man.
I mean, basically, you
people
drop
looting. You gotta
so you murder them.
Yeah, dude. You're just going around on your boat and just shooting.
Well, and I've messed around with the game a little bit, but I haven't really played it all the way through, and it does seem to have like a complete lack of morality what you're doing, and I'm wondering if that's ever addressed in the game. But
look, those kids had it coming.
Yeah. That's what I do whenever I see someone looting. Yeah. One time I saw a kid jaywalk, so I broke both his kneecaps with a bat.
Yeah, J. Crawl.
Yeah, J. Crawl now, bitch. That's what I said to him.
J. Crawl is probably my favorite app, though. Yeah. If you're into Japanese food, amazing. But all in all, the Division works very well because it always has a lot of pushback where it's like, no, you aren't available. This area is not available to you, and you can try, and it'll crush you. So it has a very good amount of difficulty. The world will always feel dangerous, especially if you get into the dark zone where you fight against multiplayer players. And they've improved it in a lot of ways, like permabanning cheaters, which is really what the PC version needed. I think it's on its way to becoming one of the most popular franchises. And we'll probably see many sequels for it. But right now, the first one, a very solid entry, and one of the best things Ubisoft has put out in years.
Are people still playing it? Like, it's not getting evolved, is it?
No. People are playing it.
Evolved is the term I just came up with for a game that comes out to great fanfare and then everyone stops playing the multiplayer.
It's not being Battleborn, but
Ooh, Battleborn.
I'd say even if everyone else stops playing it, if you can get some buddies to play with it, or even if you want to play it single player, it's fun. It really is.
Play with yourself. It's fun.
I played mostly by myself the entire time. That didn't come out right.
I can't get Colin to stop playing with himself.
Always, that's the division. All right, Steve, what do you got?
My second game that I picked is a little indie game. Came out on PC and then it dropped on PS4 and Xbox One, I believe. It's called Enter the Gungeon, which you still haven't played yet, you son of a bitch.
Is there a Vita version or not?
I don't believe so.
Because I've heard pretty good things about Enter the Gungeon, but it feels like one of those games that you can just pick up and play and then put it down. And right now my mood right now is just I like some meaty games.
Well, I got to tell you, you could pick it up and play it and put it down, except you won't want to put it down.
Whoa!
Hey, look at that back of the box quote. You can have that one, guys. It's cut from the same cloth as like a Nuclear Throne or Binding of Isaac, something like that. But it definitely has its own feel. It's completely its own thing, and it has a little bit more of a bullet hell element than like an Isaac to it.
Sure.
And it's all about the weapons. Obviously, it's the Gungeon.
I like Nuclear Throne, but I didn't feel that the actual combat felt very satisfying in a lot of areas. Maybe it was almost too loose in some ways.
Yeah.
Is this a better rendition of that?
Yeah, I think if you felt like the combat in Nuclear Throne was a little bit loose, which it can be until you get into the late game.
Sure.
With Nuclear Throne. With Gungeon, the thing I like about it the most is not every gun is great. In fact, a lot of them are trash. And more importantly, there's nothing that's particularly overpowered. Every single gun is super, super unique, and it's a matter of understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each weapon and balancing your ammo consumption.
What would be an example of maybe two opposites?
Sure. Okay. So there's a gun. It's a sling.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just a sling. You whip it around your head. You throw a rock.
Yeah. David and Goliath. All right.
David and Goliath. If you're fighting regular enemies, it's basically useless. Completely useless. But because David and Goliath thing, if you use it on bosses, it does double damage to bosses.
That's pretty good.
It's great. And then you have other guns, like there's a gun that shoots snowballs. The damage itself isn't very good, but you build up freeze damage over time, and you can freeze enemies, and then they shatter. So, oh god, this one's good too.
All right, this got to be the good one here.
Nintendo Zapper.
All right.
And it shoots little zappy things, and they're piercing shots, so they go through enemies. That's useful,
Ooh.
but they're not very strong. So you have to balance those two things. And the best part is, when you get down to the end of the clip, and this is a common thing in a lot of the guns in Gungeon, the final bullet is a special shot, and it shoots a duck from Duck Hunt that explodes. It's fucking brilliant.
All right, I'm sold. I'll check that out.
There's like hundreds of guns. Each one is super unique and has its own feel, its own look. It's so much fun.
Enter the Gungeon. That's another good one. All right, well, the video just cut out because the camera usually thinks that its battery is done, even though it doesn't even think it has a battery. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to be going on with the rest of the list, and there will be no more video for the rest of the episode.
Well, you got a face for podcasting anyways. You weren't built for YouTube, let's be honest.
If this annoys you in any way, just remember, you can always just stop listening. Okay, going on. We should talk about The Witness. That was Jonathan Blow's game he put out earlier this year, and it was a very good one. It was a puzzle-based game, very abstract. I think it's one of those games that people are going to look back and not really respect it, thinking that it was overblown and pretentious, but I really think that The Witness is a very unique experience. I think it's the most successful version of, say, Myst. That was getting a lot of comparisons to that, but it really does work on a level where you're learning logic. Someone could explain it to you, but it would ruin the game, and you really couldn't play it because you wouldn't have the lessons. You wouldn't have the thought process. It's almost designed around the way people think and learn so they can take that information and go on to the next stage. It's very hard to explain, but it's a fantastic title.
It kind of is like it's Myst mixed with the little crayon maze on the back of like a chain restaurant placemat, but in a really good way. And I think, like kind of getting into the logic of the game and how it works and understanding that and learning from your failures and what you've done correctly, it's really important. And I think in the early game, you can almost kind of strong arm your way through it if you have to. But the more that you invest in it, the better it gets.
Yeah, really, it's a fantastic title. Real quick, I do want to mention Hitman. I mean, we can put this on here, but I mean, it's not done because obviously it's an episodic game. There's only 3 episodes out there. But so far, the episodic version of Hitman is the best Hitman game in a long, long time. Almost 10 years, from Hitman Blood Money, which was 2006. The amount of ways you can take out your targets, the diversity in the environment, the ability to create your own user-made hits in these beautiful, beautiful locations that have tons of variety in them. I'm talking about some very small, tropical town with boats and all that, but you actually have to sneak into a mansion, go further down. There's a secret laboratory. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I know a lot of people are waiting for the game to, officially release. I think that's the wrong way to play it. I think the episodic way is the right way because it actually encourages you to play and replay and relearn and then eventually create your own hits. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I've been championing like episodic gaming for a long time, and I was skeptical at first because it is kind of an action-oriented franchise. It's not a story-driven thing like a Telltale game. It works perfectly. This is if you are a working person who doesn't have a shit ton of time to dedicate to video games, this is a great way to consume Hitman.
Maybe. You might invest more time than you expect in it. Those stages are pretty damn good. But what do you got, Steve?
My next one, and I got to be honest, spoiler alert, I only really picked 3 because,
That's fine.
Overwatch, man. Overwatch is so good.
But you don't play online games, so you can't be right about that.
This is insane. So, in the last year, there have been 2 online games, like multiplayer shooting games, that I've actually enjoyed. I really like Splatoon, and Overwatch sort of takes that same concept to the next level. So, again, it addresses basically everything I don't like about online competitive multiplayer shooting games. Each character class is completely unique. You can spend weeks and weeks trying to master and understand the nuance of each character. At the same time, anybody can jump into a game of Overwatch and have a great time and, I don't know, be useful. Actually feel like you're contributing to your team. It's nuts.
It's actually a game that I feel like you could get frustrated, of course, because you might lose over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But, just the general play of learning new characters, adapting to their styles, and then sort of embracing their function, it feels like you're getting more than one game. It's hard to explain, but when you learn how to use, what is his name, McCree, and the difference between him and Diva and Mercy. I mean, I know these characters' names. I like them. And, when you see them standing together, it's weird, but you actually kind of get that, kind of a little bit of chills. Like, wow, this is a whole world. It feels like they've stolen the best elements of other games' characters and put them into one title. I got my Red Dead Redemption, and I got my Project Horned Owl, and I got, all these different unique and charismatic characters. I can't stress that enough. Even the ones where I'm like, oh my God, Junkrat, screw him. And now I'm like, oh man, I love Junkrat. It's so strange how it sort of, it's infectious. It's an infectious game.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I feel like this is the first time I've seen a competitive first-person shooter game like this that's actually kind of a water cooler game. Mm-hmm. Like, this is something that people have conversations about because everybody has characters they love, characters who annoy them for completely different reasons. And it's something you can really talk about. And it kind of draws that personality from, say, MOBAs. But at the same time, those are so insular that you can't really talk to other people about that.
Right.
But it's not like Call of Duty where, what's the water cooler conversation about Call of Duty? Bro, you play Call of Duty? Yeah, I play Call of Duty.
Well,
but this is and I'm not saying that to disparage it. It's just because it doesn't have the level of personality. Call of Duty is not based on personality.
It's true. And also I will say that Overwatch is more accessible. Unfortunately, Overwatch has something to do with hitboxes or whatever. The internet told me so it's a bad game.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, yeah, because the hitboxes, get good or get sacked.
Get good.
Yeah, amazing. Overwatch, though, fantastic. Easily. Yeah. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't make the top 10 at the end of the year. We should probably talk about Doom for a second, which, my God, expecting so little out of this title, and then just being initially impressed, and then way surpassing even what I would want out of a Doom title in 2016.
Why haven't I played it yet? This seems like a Steve Cuff game. Why am I not playing it?
It really is like The Binding of Isaac, except in 3D. I'm not even kidding, because it requires so much skill, and much like Dark Souls we were talking about before, forcing you to really embrace the danger. Like, the only way to survive is to headlong run into a battle, kill everything so that you can get the health from the demons. I mean, that's one of those things where they didn't have regenerative health, but enemies drop health, which already, if you were to tell that to me a year ago, I'd be like, wow, they're really screwing it up. They don't know what they're doing. They're ruining Doom. But no, I mean, obviously it's impossible to replace the original Doom games, but if you were to ask, is this the best Doom game ever, you could make an argument for it. A definite argument. Okay. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Not the best playing game, but a very fun story. A very good story. I don't know if you saw my review at youtube.com/videogamesardone/worth it.
Never heard of it.
So, I mean, really what I love about this title is that it's almost a commentary on the fourth in any entry. The entire time, Drake is like, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't do this. I don't want to do this. Like, he was that gung-ho guy from the first trilogy and just be like, this is a big mistake. And he's even got his brother there. And I'm not spoiling anything, but his brother's so excited because, and the brother almost represents the new players in the series, you know? And the brother's like, oh, man, we got to go do this and this and this. And Drake's like, look, I've already been here. I know how this ends. Not a good idea. I love that. So it's a meta commentary really on the franchise. And I also think it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful game out there. Like, even on compared to PC, it's like, I don't know. Uncharted's really nice looking, which is amazing to even say that, especially when they're planning on replacing the PlayStation 4. Well, I have 2 more that I need to mention. 3 more. But 4 more. Real quick. Ratchet & Clank. Surprisingly fun. Probably won't make the top 10 at the end of the year. Worth a nod. Street Fighter 5. Really botched entry. Not inviting at all to new players. But it is the best Street Fighter 5 game. Or best Street Fighter 5 game.
Not yet. They haven't done 10 iterations on it yet, Colin. You can't say that.
It is the best Street Fighter game. Since I would say probably Street Fighter 2.
And also the best Street Fighter 5 game. I haven't played Street Fighter 5, but I can say it's the best Street Fighter 5 game.
I think we can all together say it's the best Street Fighter 5 game. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. I know this is not going to come up at the end of the year, but Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth is such a good JRPG. It's shocking. The way that it uses its experience system. Basically, you have to keep, like Pokemon, right? Where you would, like, I'm just going to have to use this analogy. So imagine you saw a Pikachu and you tried to capture it. You couldn't. You have to fight a Pikachu maybe 4 times. And because they're randomized battles where you're going to be facing off against a lot of the same enemies, it's actually nice to see the same enemy because you go, oh, I'm getting closer to unlocking him. Really smart mechanic. On top of that, you are an internet detective, which is... It's so...
It's your dream job.
It's bonkers. The story is so stupid, but it's awesome. I don't even like Digimon. I've never cared about Digimon, and this game got me into it because it doesn't emphasize the talking dinosaurs.
I actually thought of you the other day, and I cracked up because I was reading...
I saw this homeless guy on the street and said, see you in 5 years.
I was reading a review of that, whatever it's called, #FE Fire Emblem Shin Megami Tensei Anime Explosion. That new game.
The Wii U title, yeah.
Yeah. And... they were talking about it, and one of their points of comparison was Digimon Cyber Sleuth. And here I had it in my head that Colin Tanner was the only person who played that game and enjoyed it. And then right in front of me was this big write-up, like, positively comparing it to that.
I mean, for me, it's a game that has... I think I even said when I did a review of it, that it creates all of its own problems and then solves them, which is really cool. They create these ideas that, I don't think that's going to work, and they go, no, watch, we'll fix it, because we'll make the environment smaller, or we'll make the battles less repetitive. And even if they are repetitive, you'll get a reward because you're doing the same thing over and over again. Really smart systems and a great story and great music. Love the music in that. Bright, colorful graphics, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think we need to mention Fire Emblem Fates. There were 3 different versions of this game. They're all incredible. Some of the best music, best characters. Love everything about Fire Emblem. Fates, and I got the special edition, so obviously I've got all 3 of them on the same cartridge. I'm so lucky, and all of you at home listening to this right now, you don't have it, and I do, and I can play it whenever I want. And some days I want to play it, but then I think no, I'm just not going to spite the rest of the people that couldn't get their hands on this $80 3DS game.
I love Fire Emblem, absolutely love it, and I still haven't played this one just because it's too big of a commitment. Like, I'm like, I can't get the special edition because that doesn't exist. I'm holding out for a re-release of the special edition, which will never happen because God hates me. And then I have 3 games I don't know which one to pick, Colin.
You want to play Birthright.
Okay, that seems to be the general consensus, but still.
Birthright's more story heavy, a lot more inviting. Conquest almost feels like a master quest, and that'd be good for you. And then I forget what the last one is called, but I really only played Birthright. I didn't play too much of Conquest. But yeah, I never got a chance to beat any of them, and I want to get back and play those because, wow. But I've been too busy playing Pocket Card Jockey. Such a good game.
Is that a euphemism for masturbation?
That I know it. I felt really bad because I told someone like, "Hey, why don't you go play Pocket Card Jockey?" And they looked at me like they were gonna smack me in the face. I'm like, No. It's this game where you play solitaire and horses, whatever. That's one of the best games. Let's just really crush these.
Yeah, whatever your kinks are, man, we support you.
Thank you. We are Marshall. Did we leave? Is that it? Is that all of them?
Must be all of them.
I feel like we're leaving one out. Nope. I guess that's it.
That's it. Everything else is trash. Only play those games.
Yep. But the best game, of course, is my number 9. That was a fun little conversation that unfortunately was cut short because the goddamn video cut out. I can't believe this thing doesn't think it has a battery. It got a battery.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at charging right now, and it doesn't think it has a battery.
You're no hero, GoPro.
Yeah, it might be time to upgrade the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's time to upgrade the camera because I don't want to even use lights anymore. I just want to have something that's good with low light. You know, something that doesn't have too much fucking noise and grain all over it. You know, I think this is a possibility. I think I got to go to Colders. That's a regional thing. But
hilarious Midwest joke.
Well, maybe we should go and find a new camera, but we're gonna have to step outside anyway to go to a little place that the horns. Man, can you guys hear these horns?
I hope they can. Actually, I hope they can't, so they think we're completely fucking insane.
You know, it's weird because I think it was episode 100. The exact same scenario happened. The exact same scenario that we're experiencing right now, and I remember not hearing any of the horns. And then I actually listened back to that episode because I was like, I wonder if you could hear those horns. Because I knew this was coming up yesterday. And I listened back and yeah, you can totally hear the horns.
That's awesome. It's like a Broadway musical.
Because every time we're talking, they're probably hearing the horns. When we're not talking, they aren't hearing the horns. If that makes any sense.
Well, maybe our discussion about video games will get on their stupid horn recording.
Well, let's get outside anyway to a place that's always warm with the glow of cold, hard cash. That's right. It's time for... The Chart Park, the land where money grows on trees. That's right, it's time for the Chart Park. We are going to talk about the legal, business, and financial news in the video game industry and discuss which fat cats of Wall Street will tip their top hats towards Lady Luck. We need to start off with more Ubisoft news. Vivendi has increased their investment in Ubisoft way back.
Totally not a hostile takeover.
Not a hostile takeover. They said they have no interest to hostily take over Ubisoft. But 8 months ago in October, they purchased 6.6% in Ubisoft stock. Now, this was kind of alarming because Vivendi is a big company. They used to own Activision and Blizzard and used to have partnerships with Universal, lots of different companies. And then in February, they increased it to 10%. And this was when things started to get worrisome because they were also purchasing stock in Gameloft, a company run by the brother of the CEO of Ubisoft. A company they also co-founded with his brother. And then in April, it was up to 18%. And then everything seemed like it was going to be good. E3 happened. Yves Guillemot, the CEO, even took to the stage and was like, hey, look at everybody on the stage. Hey, please stop trying to take us over. Vivendi has now purchased 20%. And yeah, they said they will not be hostily taking over the company. From a business standpoint, an ethical standpoint, any standpoint, why the head games? Why this slow trickle of purchasing bits of this stock? I really can't figure it out.
Well, it's either pressuring Ubisoft to cave, basically, and just let it happen, or, it's the other thing that could be going on is maybe they're not fully committed to the idea of taking over the company yet, so they're just doing it. They're just kind of nickel and diming it to see if it really is a financially viable thing for them to do.
It just seems cruel.
It is. It's really shitty. It's super, super shitty.
It seems wrong, and I do not like it. And Ubisoft, I hope that somehow you make enough money where you can purchase Vivendi and turn it into a place that makes hot dogs. Okay. Speaking of acquisitions, Tencent, of course, the Chinese company, has officially purchased 84.3% of Supercell, the creators of Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. Yeah, well, I mean, they own, basically 85% of the company right now. Now, I've done a little bit of looking into what Tencent does, and they have purchased a lot of stock in things like Epic Games, and wow, I can't even remember. Riot, the League of Legends guys. They don't really influence them from a creative standpoint, just sometimes a business standpoint, but they really let people do their own thing. They're the opposite of Vivendi, and we got the CEO of Supercell, Ika Parani, saying this. The next chapter is what he's calling his blog post. For us today, it's all about chasing a future for Supercell that we've always dreamed of. We founded this company to make great games that people all over the world would play for decades. We've been very lucky over the past 6 years. We've received 4 top games that are now played by over 100 million people every single day. While enabling us to stay private, this partnership with Tencent provides us with some of the benefits of being public. As part of this transition, our employees will be able to sell their shares of Supercell over time, because of course everyone at Supercell is an owner. They all have stock. The total equivalency is $10.2 billion. Also recognize the value of the phenomenal company that our people have built. I mean, it's a huge amount of money to spend on a single developer, especially one that's in such a risky area as mobile games. But they seem to have been able to prove themselves time and time and time again. And Tencent is very wise with their investments.
Sure. I would say as far as like investing in a mobile company that's kind of a one-trick pony, this is probably the safest bet that you can make.
Nah, why not Zynga?
But if you look at the track record, I don't think there's an example of a publicly traded mobile company that has any legs at all and is able to really build themselves. Right now with mobile companies, they get super rich off of 1 or 2 games, and then they just fall off the face of the earth.
I mean, but Clash of Clans and Clash Royale seem to have a level of complexity that I think a lot of people that enjoy regular video games really enjoy. And,
regular video
well,
games.
yeah, not dumb mobile pieces of crap like Miitomo, which I stopped playing.
I don't know. I feel like Clash of Clans is hot garbage. It's just not for me. Although I will say they've taken a more traditional approach. Like normally,
one man, one woman buying stock in Supercell.
Well, generally. Mobile games tend to segregate themselves from the rest of the video game market.
You are really using some interesting language here.
No, so let me finish. So what they do is you don't see mobile games being reviewed in traditional video game outlets or often even discussed, especially these big titles like your Clash of Clans or whatnot. If you look at Clash Royale, they've actually partnered with YouTubers. They've partnered with traditional video game media outlets. So they're trying to kind of enter that world of popular discourse in video games and not sort of just push themselves out there in the world of Candy Crush. Because when was the last time you thumbed through a Game Informer and saw an article about Candy Crush? When was the last time you thumbed through a Game Informer? But that's neither here nor there. But
well, I mean, either way, I think Tencent has made the right choice here because I think if you're right, maybe possibly that maybe they don't have legs, but maybe they do for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then they fall off the cliff. But in between that time, they'll more than make their investment back, and that's a good thing. Moving over, we have some news about the PlayStation 3. I told you the PlayStation 3 was going to survive. Unfortunately, the PlayStation 3's Linux functionality did not, being ended way back in 2010. So, in 2010, a number of people started a class action lawsuit against Sony, to which Sony has agreed to pay as much as $55 million to the, 10 million users affected by this. But let's say that you can't do that. How can you turn your I'm fumbling. How can you turn your sorrow into cold hard cash? Well, don't worry, because you might get $9 if you can say that you lost value due to firmware update 3.21, even if you didn't use Linux. So
good to know. Where do I sign up for that?
I'm not positive, but I got to say the PlayStation 3. More so than almost any console I can think of, maybe since the original NES, I can't think of a console that's had so many lawsuits. Like handhelds, yeah, the 3DS, but the PlayStation 3 after like the Sony hack and losing Linux and also people saying things about false advertising regarding, I forget what that was around, but there was something about false advertising for the PlayStation 3. So many goddamn lawsuits just for one console. It's amazing.
What were people doing with Linux on their PS3s?
They're playing Mountain King on Atari 2600.
I didn't like. You could just wipe the OS from a PS3 and just
you could boot
launch
Linux. Yeah,
huh?
Dude, that's the thing. Like,
I didn't even know that you could do that.
If you thought that advertising campaign from 2008, 2009, it only does everything was a joke, no, it really did You could hook it up to a printer and print things.
Just like my Game Boy camera.
You wouldn't believe the things you could do. Like, all of these USB ports for just insane reasons. You could video edit on a PlayStation. It was seriously, PlayStation 3 was very ambitious. People go $599. What a joke! But really, it was kind of like purchasing a PC. It was a very powerful system.
Very cumbersome way to do things.
It was. Well, yeah, and just use the D-pad and go to printer settings. Connect printer, and there you go. Amazing.
Good to know.
Epic is also involved in their own lawsuit. These are the people that do the Unreal Engine as well as the upcoming game Paragon. They have begun a process of suing. Where's this guy's name? It is a hacker, Crier Beach. I think he's a German dude.
Classic Crier Beach.
Well, he has been selling a hack known as Paragon's world's most powerful hack that will allow you to use things like aimbots and cheat and stuff like that. So Epic Games has just decided, we're just going to sue him. But here's the thing. They would have no legal grounds to sue this guy if he wasn't fucking charging for this. Whenever I see these people that are charging for something, they know they're going to get sued, don't they? I mean, I can't believe... Remember a few months ago when we had that thing with, remote play for PlayStation 4 on PC and Macintosh because that guy was making it and selling it? I'm shocked he didn't get sued out of existence. What is up with that? I mean, am I crazy here? But if you make a hack, why would you ever try to actually get monetary value out of that?
Yeah, well, and he could have avoided it too. Like if he just set up a PayPal account.
That's what I was saying.
It was just donate. Patreon, donate.
Yeah.
Then you're fine. But the moment that you start selling something to modify the game, then you violate the game's terms of use, and then it's not good.
Like if he was making some dumb, egg timer thing at the exact same time and having a Patreon and be like, oh no, it's really to support this, egg timer for PC and hopefully iOS one day, you would have perfect legal grounds to actually get people to pay him money. Oh, that's my passion project, but this is what I really want the money for, Yep. Stupid. Hey, the CEO of GameStop, Paul Raines. Well, he's pouring us out some information. I'm sorry about that. He was talking about the NX, and here's what he had to say. It will have physical media. We will play a role in it. Our pre-owned business will also play a role. So we're excited about that. You have to remember, he's talking to investors here. They don't even know anything about video games. They're like, are we making money? I would say that the fact that there are rumors of that type saying that it wouldn't have physical media just confirm for you that this is an important console for next year. I don't know. I'm glad that they're going to have physical media for NX because I feel that the Nintendo crowd are probably the people that are most likely going to purchase, discs and amiibos.
Well, again, we don't know what physical media is. I mean...
SD cards.
Yeah, it could be an SD card. It could be a disc. It could be a plastic container with a voucher inside of it.
Maybe it's just an amiibo that triggers a download.
Yeah, it could be any or all of these things.
I swear to God, if it's an amiibo, I'm not buying an NX. Fuck it. I won't do it.
Because you can't stack them neatly on a bookshelf.
I don't want... you know what? Can I just, for just a moment here. Loot box. What the hell is up with that?
What?
I know I just made a huge jump there, but we're just talking about amiibos. I don't understand why people do the
loot crate thing?
Or any of it. I see the
subscription boxes.
Yeah, there's like a WWE one they just announced on Reddit or whatever. Why do people just want shit shipped to their house?
Do you want the real answer for this?
Why?
Okay,
yeah.
So I long story short, I had to do a case study on this for work. The reason is it's twofold. One, people are broadly interested in nerd culture, food culture, whatever. So you have an interest.
I get the food thing because at least you're eating something.
So the idea is, one, you're in an era of information overload. I like video games.
Right.
I like kitschy bullshit that takes up space and is useless. But I don't have the time nor the resources to find the coolest kitschy bullshit. So essentially, you're paying a curator. Okay, just like when you go to a museum. You go to a museum because you like art and you want to see art, but you don't pick the art that you see. You allow yourself to pay to get a curated product. So you're paying for the curation because you trust this company for whatever reason. The other part of it is this sort of fetishization of unboxing things.
That's the craziest aspect of it.
So people want curated things that broadly speak to their interests, and they also get boners when they open boxes.
It's because I
that's
like
the reality.
My Facebook feed has just been turning into nonstop advertisements for these boxes.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. It drives me nuts because it's like, well, I have money and I want to spend it on something, but I don't know what. You decide. It's not like $1 at some sort of gas station, so you can end up with like 5 different Jolly Ranchers or whatever. You're just ending up with shit that you're gonna have to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're paying money for a responsibility.
It's basically, you're paying $20 a month for things you put in your cubicle.
Like, what? Yeah, why would you care about, oh, look, I got a Mario sticker. I hate that stuff. I've always hated that stuff. I hate when magazines came with it. I hate that people are paying just for that stuff. I don't know. I was watching a wrestling channel, and the guy started doing unboxings that are revolving around wrestling, and it's like an Ultimate Warrior figure. It's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So physical media, all for it though. Much preferred over, because at least it functions. It does something. It doesn't just sit on a shelf. All right. Anyway, WB Games has confirmed they will be releasing games for future consoles, including NX. Kind of a no-duh, but hey, this is kind of cool. We have the president, David Haddad, who is the president of WB Games. He said, "We have a great relationship with all console platforms. We believe we will play a role in each of them. We're constantly deciding how to navigate these consoles, but supporting them is not a question for us." They were one of the people that actually supported the Wii U. They had that Batman Arkham Knight stupid electronic boxing fist version. Lots of Scribblenauts stuff on there.
Yeah. Scribblenauts did really well.
Injustice was on there. Another game on. I mean, WB is kind of turning into the American Ubisoft, where they're just like, we release on everything. You got a new console, we'll take a gamble.
Yep. It's smart, too, because they front-loaded. I mean, I don't think WB's released a game on the Wii U in the last few years, but they loaded a bunch of titles into the first 2 years of the console's life cycle, which is smart.
That's what Ubisoft does, which is why we have Watch Dogs on the Wii U.
Yeah. Which is why we have the Conduit on Wii.
Oh, boy. Now,
what's that stupid... Oh, fuck. Red Steel.
Red Steel 2 is really good.
Red Steel 2 is good. Red Steel 1 is not good.
Speaking of Wii games real quick, Elebits. Check that game out, kids. Really
It's a fun
fun.
one.
I love that.
There's a lot of one-offs. Like Boom Blocks is great on the Wii, too.
Boombox and Elebits had sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not a one-off.
What about De Blob?
De Blob 2.
De Blob.
I actually played the PlayStation 3 version with Move controllers. They serve no purpose. They literally don't do anything but move the camera.
Wow, motion controls that don't do anything.
Yes.
Never heard of that.
Moving over to Oculus, they have officially removed the DRM hardware check from their software. Previously, right, they had a hardware check, making sure you're using an Oculus headset before you went to the Oculus store or were playing an Oculus game. Someone created something called Revive. And then, they created this DRM check, and then Revive was basically allowing people to crack software or being able to use cracked software. And now Oculus has changed their tune and said, Revive, the person behind Revive said, "I've only just tested this and I'm still in disbelief, but it looks like Oculus removed the headset check from the DRM in Oculus Runtime 1.5. As such, I've reverted the DRM patch and removed all binaries from previous releases and contained the patch." Really good on him to do that, by the way, because I think that's being responsible for creating gray software. And then Oculus even responded by saying, "We won't use hardware checks as part of DRM on PC. We believe protecting developer content is critical to long-term success of VR industry, and will continue to take steps in the future to ensure that VR developers can keep investing in groundbreaking new VR content." Obviously, a lot of people are just like, "See, exclusives don't work," which I still don't know what the hell that has to do with this. That seems to be a big takeaway. Is like, see, they're not doing exclusives. Yes, they are.
This just speaks to the fact that the walled garden approach to an online marketplace doesn't work in 2016 the way that it worked in 2006.
Still means they're going to get a huge cut from the Oculus store. They're still making the money. Yeah, it doesn't matter to them. I wonder if this was like Palmer Luckey stepping in, being like, "Hey, you're really freaking people out here. We kind of started on Kickstarter. Why don't we scale this back?"
Yeah, and it doesn't function. I mean, people look at the iTunes store and they say, "I want that." Well, you can't have that because the iTunes store was the only thing like it when it came out. It's allowed to be a walled garden because it fucking invented it. Other things like this, with all this VR hardware that basically parallels itself, you're not going to be able to maintain these separate marketplaces. Digital distribution.
What if you can go to the Oculus store on my PlayStation 4?
My Linux PS3.
Well, this is good news for Valve, because they are investing a lot of time and money into VR, according to Alan Yates. he talks about his the amount of people in Valve that are working on VR. He says, it was a much smaller team than it is now. It has since grown to encompass about a third of the company. But the key individuals that solved most of the really hard technological problems and facilitated this generation of consumer headsets are still here working on the next generation. Make it so. But that's kind of insane. A third of Valve is working on VR. Does this mean, and this is, people brought this up before, Half-Life 3, exclusive to VR?
I don't know.
Think about it. The first one was breaking down story. Second one was breaking down physics, in modern games.
Mm-hmm.
Why not this?
It could be. I wouldn't be surprised. But Valve is definitely very, very serious about VR. They have, it's all over Steam right now. Like, there's a separate VR category that I'm never going to use, and it's everywhere. They're really pushing it.
Oh, you'll be using it once, the government officials pin you down and put the headset on.
Yeah, once I can play Half-Life 3 on Google Cardboard. I'll be
Ugh. Make you want to vomit. Also, by the way, Valve will not let you buy Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I mean, you can buy it, but you cannot gift it during the Steam sale. And they're saying it's because...
Why not?
Well, it's because most people don't gift it. It's just one of those games that people buy for themselves.
That's weird.
That's their official response.
That doesn't make any sense.
In reality, it's because they don't want people reselling keys. More on that later. So, the Fable card game, Fable Fortune, is being taken off of Kickstarter. Why? Well, according to a post on their Kickstarter page, with the immediate future of Fable Fortunes now secure due to a third-party investor, we have taken the decision to end our Kickstarter campaign early to focus on releasing a closed beta build as quickly as possible. Thank you for your support, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe they're still continuing this, because I don't think anyone that likes Fable wants that. They want Fable. They don't want the card game. They want Fable. They don't want an online game.
What does the Fable fan actually want? That's what I want to know.
They want Fable.
Don't they want the promise of Fable more than they want Fable?
They just want people to have pre-release builds and trailers for a game that never comes out.
Yeah.
In other words, I guess that Fable Legends was perfect for them.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Agreed.
Didn't even think about that. Well, they're not the only Kickstarter that's going under some transitional phase. Reroll, which was being made by a bunch of people that used to work at Ubisoft, it was kickstarted about 2 years ago. It's been in development. Now it is canceled. Pixel U, which I really don't know how to pronounce their name. It's like Pixel. Apparently they just couldn't bring all the funds together. They said, we had high hopes to secure the necessary funds to achieve our final goal. Unfortunately, the money raised with the campaign plus our personal investments were not enough to develop the game on our own. We invested everything in builds up to the necessary elements to pitch the project to potential partners. Apparently that did not work out. So instead, they are offering free copies of the early access game BIOS, which is the other game they're working on. You can currently purchase BIOS for $15. Which some people are a little mad about, because some people invested hundreds of dollars to see this game come out, and they're being given a $15 game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the nature of Kickstarter.
According to them, we know that gifting you copies of BIOS is not what you initially wanted, but it's the best we can do. At least they owned up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Opened up to it. Okay. We actually have Super Data's top 10 digital revenues of May 2016. Why May? Because it was last month. Can't tell you June. Month's not through yet, you dumbos.
Yeah, you big idiots.
We're going to just do the number one for each of these. On console games, number one was Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
No surprise there.
On PC, Overwatch.
No surprise there.
Free-to-play MMOs, League of Legends.
Sure.
I mean, it's a MOBA, but okay. Pay-to-win MMOs.
I like how that's a separate category.
World of Warcraft. Oh, they made a game based off that movie. That's cool. And mobile games, Monster Strike. But number 2 and number 3 are Clash Royale and Clash of Clans.
What the fuck is Monster Strike?
Strike the monster. Social games, Slotomania. Oh, yeah.
Slotomania.
Gonna win big on the machine. We're not going to do that. R.I.P. forever. Now let's go to the top 10 best-selling games in the UK. Number 10 is Lego Marvel Avengers. Number 9 is Star Wars Battlefront. Number 8 is UEFA Euro 2016 Pro Evolution Soccer.
UEFA?
Yeah, unfortunately, they have to take it off the shelves due to the Brexit earlier this week. Number 7 is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 6 is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Number 5 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 4 is FIFA 16. Number 3 is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Number 2 is Overwatch. And number 1, beating Overwatch, it's Doom, baby. Doom is, word of mouth, is just doing great for that series.
Yeah, that demo too.
Oh, yeah, that's
Smart.
true.
Developers always give us a demo.
The demo's over, though. They're not, you can't buy
Didn't they extend it?
Mm.
I thought they extended it after E3.
Finally, extending Doom is a positive thing. Now let's go over to the cursed land of trains, bullet trains that is, known as Japan, to find out one of the 10 best-selling games over there. Number 10 was Splatoon. Number 9 was Pocket Monster Red, Green, Blue, Yellow, the download card. Apparently they count that if you bought a gift card. Number 8 is Dragon Quest Heroes 2 Futuka no Uya 2 Yogen no Awavi for the PlayStation 3. Number 7 is Kirby Planet Robo. Number 6 is Overwatch, because Japan does not like first-person shooters. Remember that. Number 5 is Dragon Quest Heroes 2 on the PlayStation 4. Number 4 is Dragon Quest Heroes 2 on the Vita. Number 3 is Hakuki Shinaki. We'll try this. We'll try this. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
All right, do your best Japanese. Be culturally sensitive, Colin.
Hakuoki Shinkai Hana no Sho by Ideas Factory, who ironically put out a lot of the same game over and over and over again.
What the fuck is that shit?
I believe it is a visual novel.
Oh, okay.
Just because I think I played one of these. Number 2 is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice on the 3DS. And number 1 on the 3DS is Taiko Drum Master Dokondon Mystery Adventure. I don't know how the Taiko Drum Master turned into a mystery adventure. I wouldn't mind playing that. Okay, let's break this down for you. Number 1, number 2, 3DS. Number 3 is Vita. No, number 3, number 4 is Vita. So 3DS, Vita. And then at 5 is PlayStation 4. So here are the best-selling consoles. And they might surprise you. Number 1 is PlayStation 4. Somehow. Without a game to actually convince people to buy it. Number 2 is new Nintendo 3DS LL. Followed by PlayStation Vita, followed by Wii U, followed by new Nintendo 3DS, regular size, followed by PlayStation 3, followed by Nintendo 3DS, followed by Nintendo 3DS LL, followed by Xbox One. I didn't really name the numbers here, but Xbox One sold 40 units.
That's beautiful.
40 units.
I always wonder, too, if these are actually units sold or units shipped.
Sold. 40 units. And in last place, below the Xbox One, is the PlayStation Vita TV. Guess.
12.
A little higher.
20.
A little lower.
15.
A little higher.
17.
Bing, bing, bing. The PlayStation Vita TV with 17.
That's incredible.
That's
you could literally fit all of those people in this room.
Yes. It would be very uncomfortable. Amazing, though. And that's going to do it for the Chart Park. The land where money grows on trees. You can fit more people on a bus. More people could ride a roller coaster. You could share a pizza with more people. It needs to be large. And I mean, you're going to have to double cut the slices, but you could share the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, normally we would take a break, but fuck it. Let's just close out the show. We need to get to these last 2 segments. We need to go and talk about people that are disappointing us. People that are making mistakes. People we like to call the idiots of the week. G2A is a website that I've known many people to purchase PC titles from because for some reason they always have the best discounts, the best value compared to many other places such as Steam or even Green Man Gaming or, Deal Shark. No, G2A outpaces them all. How do they afford these great deals? Well,
they steal the codes.
Let's talk about TinyBuild. Because TinyBuild recently went onto Twitter and announced that they had hundreds of thousands of dollars that they were basically left with in debt, essentially. Why? All right, let's break it down. My name is Billy, and I want to make some money, but I don't want to get a job. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to either digitally or physically steal your credit card. From there, or debit card, I'm not picky. From there, I will go to, I don't know, Steam or anywhere, and I'm going to gift myself some keys. Hundreds of keys. Maybe even thousands of keys. And keep in mind, I'm not by myself. Lots of people know this scam. So people all over the world buying all of these keys. Well, so far so good. Now, what am I going to do with digital keys? It's not like you can sell them to Steam. You'd have to go place shadier. Far more shadier. They like to call it the gray market. Which, might as well call it the crimson market because a lot of bloodletting in that environment. From there, sell the keys to some company. Some company that has absolutely no moral responsibility and a bunch of fucking con artists. Maybe like G2A, we won't say them specifically, but some idiot asshole motherfuckers who will buy the keys for a low price and then sell them back to other people for great values. Well, all the time they're making 75-80% of the profit. Now you might say, no harm, no foul so far, except for the poor guy that had their credit card stolen. No, you don't understand, because of course there's something known as credit fraud, and when credit fraud is detected, they have to revert the purchases of something like a digital good. So they send the chargebacks back to that developer. Whether they're big, whether they're small, no matter what, they're receiving all of the chargebacks, and it can actually ruin careers. Just straight up ruin the entire company. Because they also now have to spend all this time trying to prevent that type of scam. And also screws over Steam, it screws over lots of people. And all the while, G2A is just making money off of stolen merchandise. It's the equivalent of a pawn shop that does not background check, does not talk to the police. Just con artists.
Okay, so I understand why G2A does this, as like you said, like a pawn shop who doesn't do background checks. If you're stealing credit cards, doesn't this seem like a really roundabout way to make a little bit of extra cash? I mean, if I stole a credit card, wouldn't I just buy a motherfucking boat and then ditch the credit card?
No, because you can make this money anywhere, and it just goes back to whatever account that you want to. I mean, you're just trying to make money. You can't just turn it into cash. I mean, if you buy an expensive boat and you try and sell it somewhere, right? They're going to go, where the hell did you get this boat? It's a very expensive boat. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. So they go, all right, fine. No more boat talk. Here's your cash. And then you live on an island. No. You get caught. However, if you have lots of small things, lots and lots of tiny things, you can get away with it. What are you talking about? That game's $10. So he gave him $2. What's the big deal? I mean, we're selling for $5. So we're making, what is that? About 60% of the value on there. Why not? It's not a big deal. So he sold us hundreds of keys. Whatever. Maybe he's another distributor. We don't know anything about this.
If the keys are flagged as stolen, do the game stop working for people?
Yes, they can in some areas.
So everybody gets boned then.
Yeah, and maybe you might buy a game from G2A that, doesn't work because someone else already used the key because these people aren't trustworthy to begin with. It's not a very good system. Don't worry. For an extra $2, G2A will offer you protection and give you a different key. They literally have a service built around the fact that they know these fucking keys are stolen.
Yeesh. That's shady.
That's what I'm saying.
Where is this company based out of?
I believe hell. Just hell. Time traveling.
Man.
Yep. And so G2A. This is not about... but here's the thing. If it wasn't a slow news week, no one would be talking about this. Because this is always a problem. And no one ever talks about it.
They're the slimy butthole of the week.
They are awful. They are the dumbass motherfuckers. G2A, as always, you are the idiot of the week.
Slimy buttholes.
It's disgusting. Anyway, we don't have any emails this week. This show's already going on too long. It's been a goddamn mess.
It's been beautiful. Every time I'm here, it's fucking perfect.
But we probably should close out taking a look back at the week that was and a little something we like to call Strong History. 10 years ago this week, we just missed this. This is actually technically last week, but I just felt we had to just include this. The Darkness was released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Of course, the PS3 version sucked, but the Xbox 360 version, pretty good.
You talk about that glam rock band?
Okay, well, that was lost on you. 11 years ago, on the Nintendo DS, Meteos was released. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Basically, it was the opposite of Tetris, where you had to send the blocks up instead of down. You were sending them up to have them skyrocket through space. I was never any good at that game, but Meteos was one of the early must-have titles on the DS. 12 years ago, Spider-Man 2 was released on the Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation 2, and is still the best Spider-Man game, I would say.
Best open world game ever.
Oh, stop. Every 2 seconds, that dumb little kid drops his balloon and, I got Spider-Man, get the balloon. Yeah. It's bullshit. 14 years ago, Bruce Lee Quest of the Dragon was released on the original Xbox. Why do I bring this up? Because I very much enjoy Bruce Lee, and when I heard that they were making an Xbox exclusive meaning usually pretty good, exclusive built around the Bruce Lee franchises of the past, flipped my wig. Got myself a copy. Honestly, one of the most underrated games of all time. Just kidding. Absolute trash. So angry. So angry.
Better or worse than the Bruce Lee game on the Atari Jaguar?
Now, that would be based off the movie. So that's actually dragging the Bruce Lee story, which I think has some intriguing elements, especially with the 2-player mode, which basically is a early version of something like, say, Smash Brothers. You got 4 people fighting each other at the same time.
Yeah, except it plays like hot trash. You could sit on the controller, and it would probably register more inputs than if you were actually playing.
You actually have to fight the metaphorical representation of his early death. It's so bizarre. I will say that for some reason, though, they were able to make another exclusive version of this on the Game Boy Advance. That's not bad. Has nothing to do with Bruce Lee. Not a good game, though. Also, 14 years ago, Stuntman was released on the PlayStation 2. This is the follow-up to Driver, where you had to perform stunts just like the director said. And if you didn't do it exactly how he wanted, you failed for 5 hours and went back to Blockbuster and said, I can't play this. I know I'm not alone.
It's a classic. Stuntman.
16 years ago, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards was released.
Kirby Your Enthusiasm.
I didn't like this one. I like Kirby, but I did not like Kirby 64. You ever play this one?
Yeah. I bought it at a flea market. I didn't play it when it came out, but I blazed through it in like a Saturday afternoon. I was just like, it's fine.
It was alright. He can turn into a fridge. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Also, 16 years ago, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was released on the Dreamcast. My God. That was such a good version of that game, too, especially because the Dreamcast's really cool, analog stick. So perfect. That was perfect for fighting games.
That controller is horrible.
I like the Dreamcast controller.
Even where the cord comes out of it, I'm just like, fucking stop. Why is this like this?
All right, fine. Because also 16 years ago, Jet Grind Radio was released in Japan. What are you going to say now, man?
I like that game too. The controller. Explain to me why the cord comes out of the bottom instead of the top of the controller, other than that's where the UMV unit goes.
But you just answered it, though. I can't build it around that.
Why not put the UMD at the bottom and then because the controller has to the cord wraps around the controller to go to my.
Because then maybe it'll fall out by accident.
Oh Jesus.
Also, 16 years ago, something I think it's a Spanish game. Diablo 2 was released on the PC.
Never heard of it.
Probably sucks. 17 years ago, Driver was released on the PlayStation. The original one.
That's fun. I spent a lot of time doing instant replays of me fucking up my car.
Did you even really play the story mode? Because I found
no.
The tutorials that you had to accomplish were so difficult in that game.
I never played the story mode. I just found giant hills and jumped my car and then watched the replay.
Oh, yeah. And they also had that mode where you just had to run from the cops. Oh, so good. I still think that the Grand Theft Auto series has not fully capitalized on the potential of just running from the cops. Like, I think the original Driver really nailed it because the cops... I think that's the biggest mistake with Grand Theft Auto, honestly, is that they start incorporating the helicopters and the tanks and all that kind of stuff. Fuck that. Just have 50 cop cars out to get me. Like, just fit like 100 cop cars, non-stop cop cars. That's fun, you know?
Yeah.
I think as soon as you like, oh, no, it's the helicopter, so you're going to die. That's lame. I don't like that. That's just me, maybe. 18 years ago, on the Sega Saturn, the inferior version of Castlevania Symphony of the Night was released in Japan, but allows you to play as Maria. So there's that.
Yeah.
18 years ago, Tomba was released on the PlayStation 1. Pink-haired boy. You ever play that one?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Look at the pigs. It's okay. It has not aged gracefully. I will say that.
Well, yeah.
It's fun. The sequel, I think, is maybe a little bit better, but it's clunky.
Oh.
But it's got a lot of heart and a lot of spunk.
That's all that matters. 18 years ago as well, on the PlayStation 1, the very first Grand Theft Auto was released. And I bought that day one. I played a lot of that game.
Oh, look at you. I bet you bought the British expansion pack, too.
Couldn't get to run on my PlayStation 1 because you had to open up... it was very...
You couldn't make the British expansion pack work?
No, because you had to do this weird thing where you opened up your PlayStation and it only ran on older models of the PlayStation, but the older model of the PlayStation I had died. So we had a newer model. So I was like, all right. Great. I mean, obviously, I was playing Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, and also I was very hyped for Grand Theft Auto 3D as it was known and on the message boards, and no one believed me, but I was right, and I'll be right forever. 19 years ago, Scud the Disposable Assassin lived up to its name on the Sega Saturn.
The hell is that?
It kind of looks like, I don't even know what you call it, like the claymation games that were around in the mid-90s.
Sure.
Take a look at it. I think you'd really like it.
Like Claymates?
Yeah, but there's another one I was trying to think of. It's like
Clay Fighter?
It's like the guy who made Monkey Bone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an interesting game. Also, 19 years ago, Star Fox 64 launched, marking the last good Star Fox game.
Hot take.
No, it's who? Who is disagreeing with that?
What about the what was that one that came out?
Adventures.
Not Adventures. It was a portable game.
Oh, yeah. No, I always get it confused.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
on the DS, right?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like that game's fun, but it's not really a Star Fox game, but it's fun.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really have, like, levels. It just has missions.
It's like that weird Splinter Cell game that came out on the DS that was cool, but no one played it. Or maybe it was 3DS.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
People
Oh,
love that game.
no-
People
no.
loved it. They're
Are
like,
you sure
It's like
Splinter Cell?
XCOM.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Splinter Cell. It was on 3DS. It was like a 3DS launch
No,
title.
no. You're thinking of Ghost Recon.
Ghost Recon? Yeah, that was it.
Big difference. Because there was a 3DS game based around Splinter Cell. Horrible.
Okay.
Like, nightmarishly bad.
Sorry, I got my Tom Clancy bullshit mixed up. But
There's
yeah,
not that many, dude. Just get straight.
the Ghost Recon game that isn't Ghost Recon, but they called it Ghost Recon.
God, I love Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon and The Division and Splinter Cell.
Oh my
and,
god, why don't you just suck off Tom Clancy? It's because he's dead, you fucking sick fuck.
Yeah, well, about that. Moving on, 23 years ago, Can Bunny Extra was released on the PC 98.
Do you know what that is, or did you just like the name?
The fifth Can Bunny game is also the first direct sequel within the series. This story is very similar to the one of the previous game. Once again, the hero is lonely and is anxious to get a girlfriend, or to be more precise, to have sex with different girls. And once again, the benevolent and gorgeous goddess Swati is here to provide assistance, together with her sidekicks, the 7 lucky gods from the mythical Japanese mythology. Even though the story is pretty much the same as in the previous games, the gameplay underwent significant enhancements. The interface is still traditional Japanese-style menu commands, but there are many more locations now, many of which can be freely accessed by clicking on them while on the map, blah, 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 blah.
That's cool, they made a video game about your life.
With context-sensitive cursor for touching,
Ew.
kissing,
Ew.
etc. I want to know more about etc. Otherwise, the girl might get angry and the game will be over. All right. Can Extra Bunny, 23 years ago. 25 years ago, Final Fantasy Adventure was launched in Japan. Of course, that's only its American name on the Game Boy, because it's really the start of the Mana series.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Now, there's one more bit of news from 25 years ago where we're going to skip it. We're going to come back to it, because we have one more story. 31 years ago, Elevator Action was released on the NES in Japan. I love Elevator
It's
Action.
the only kind of action I'm getting these days.
Wow.
I like to ride elevators. What's the problem? What are you turning this into?
Should have said that.
Are you trying to turn this into a Can
we
Bunny?
are recording right now.
Oh, fuck.
But lastly, 25 years ago, the little system that couldn't, but kind of did, but then didn't, the Neo Geo was launched in
Woo.
Japan.
Did you know a Neo Geo kid? I think everybody knows at least one Neo Geo
I don't
kid.
think I did. But I would say,
One Neo Geo kid.
I would say, if me and you, Steve, were to have to pick one retro console to sit down and play something on, or maybe several games, I think me and you would both go for the Neo Geo for very different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a big fan of the SNK fighting games, Samurai Showdown, arcade perfect qualities. In case you don't know, the Neo Geo was basically all of SNK's arcade components for a home console. You could literally take cartridges from the arcade with an adapter nowadays, put it right in that system, and it was arcade perfect for, at the time, arcade was the ultimate. So having the ability to take Samurai Showdown home or Metal Slug home, mind-blowing. But of course, there are also a lot of top-down shooters.
Yep. Shock Troopers and Metal Slug. Play those all day, man.
Yeah.
Also, their sports games are super underrated.
Well, I mean, there's also, of course, oh, God. Whatever the hell the giant bomb game is that it's getting really popular now because of them.
Oh, volleyball?
Yeah, whatever that's called.
Oh, no, the Windsurfer game.
Windjammers.
Windjammers, yeah.
Which is a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the baseball game. The baseball game's on Neo Geo. Amazing. Baseball All-Stars 90-something?
Yeah, the problem is, though, on top of the fact that the system itself costs like $1,000 or something.
Not anymore.
Actually, maybe even more now.
Well, if you just for inflation, from way back when, it was about a $500, $600 system.
Yeah.
No, it was $699.
The games themselves cost like $200.
Yeah,
which is insane. Like, think about. Can you imagine, like, when I was a kid, if I bought a Nintendo game and I was just like, oh, this is shitty, this sucks, and I spent $30 on it. Like, that was devastating to me as a child. Can you imagine spending, even now, if you spent $200 on a game that was shitty, if you spent $200 on Mighty Number 9?
You don't want to see what I've been doing with Farmville
Shout out
lately.
to the Kickstarter backers who spent $200 on Mighty Number 9. They feel like burned Neo Geo cartridge owners.
But my God, 25 years ago, hard to believe. What an ambitious idea. And
Yeah.
they knew. And the thing is, that system was a success because of the limited production. The reason the games were expensive was because they didn't make very many, because they knew their audience. They said it was a boutique audience.
Also, they were like the size of a car seat.
Don't
They're just
forget,
fucking huge.
you need a pair of these to play one of these. That was an actual advertisement showing 2 metal balls. Yeah, Neo Geo. 25 years ago.
Hey, fuck the Neo Geo CD though.
Those load times.
Forever load times.
Yes.
It's bad.
Well, that's going to do it for Strong History. Do you think recording for 2 hours and 17 minutes is long enough for a slow news week?
No. Well, yeah, I guess so.
It's literally about 25% longer than most of the shows we do.
God damn it, Colin. It's about the depth, not the breadth.
Is that what she told you? Let's close out the show. Steve, where can people reach you on the internet?
You can find me on twitter.com, and my name is @SteveCuff. That's @SteveCuff. That's @Steve.
See you, friendly face. Continuity.
Yeah, so add me on Twitter. I'll be your friend. You can ask me questions. Hey, go to optimismvaccine.com. We've got some awesome articles and an amazing podcast that you can find on iTunes and TuneIn Radio and Stitcher. It's called the OpVacCast. You should look for that. I host it. It's a badass podcast. If you like really weird pop culture, movies, video games, music, just kind of fringe content type of stuff, that's what we do. And actually, we have a great episode that just went up this week. We explore the career of Neil Breen. Are you familiar with Neil Breen?
No, not at all.
Okay, so if you like Troll 2, or if you like Tommy
Oh,
Wiseau, things like
yeah.
that, the so bad it's good genre, we take a deep dive. And one of our contributors lives in LA, and he went to the debut screening of Neil Breen's Fateful Findings and interviewed the man himself. So this is all things you can find on OptimismVaccine.com.
That actually sounds like a pretty badass episode.
It's legit as fuck, man.
Wow. Okay, you can follow me on Twitter @Dr. Karate Shop. That's @DR Karate Shop. You can follow the PressureCast @PressureCastPod. You can email us, pressurecast@gmail.com, or call or text 954-947-7377. Coming up this week, we're going to have an episode of Worth It on Mighty Number 9, as well as 7 Days to Die, or Techromancer, whatever the hell it's called. Either way, there'll be stuff up there. I guarantee it. How do we end this? I don't know. Everything's going to die. The world is going to crash into the sun. And that's going to be the end of it. But the Pressure Cast is forever.
Just like Coach Carter on DVD.
PressureCast, weekly video game news podcast, is solely owned and operated by Colin Tanner. Guests of the PressureCast are not employees or freelancers of Colin Tanner, the PressureCast, or VideoGamesAreDumb.com, and are not paid. Music featured on the PressureCast is property of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended. For more information, email pressurecast@gmail.com.